Now, was that so hard? Like Roman Reigns and CM Punk standing in the ring, talking each other up so that if one of them wins,
Mhm.
maybe it will seem like an accomplishment. And if one of them loses, we now kind of know what's at stake. There's a world championship that CM Punk is wearing. By the way, you could go through the last couple months of build and not even like for sure know if there was a title or who the champion was. And we had Punk like opening up, and it was compelling. And we had Roman being gracious in a way towards Punk that
Mhm.
you wouldn't expect after hearing them talk, just tear each other down for a week. So I don't want like I want to keep this positive, but like it's
Mhm.
especially positive because of the contrast to the fact that
Mhm.
they were building up the main event at night 2 of WrestleMania this year as a battle between the you know old hypocrite and the
Mhm.
conceited part-time prick. Um, this was different. This made them both seem like really big stars with very different paths. They pointed out the contrast with each other. I think Reigns can afford to be seen as a guy who is part of a royal family without fans turning on
Mhm.
him. But I think it was important for Punk to say, I didn't have a family. I didn't get born into it. I'm jealous of that. I'm envious of it. But here's the journey I took, and I was at some of those VFWs, you know,
Mhm.
25 years ago with Punk, um, and those are the Steel Domain wrestling shows that were in Minnesota and Wisconsin. And he's telling the truth. He says, "Tell me if I'm telling a lie." I wasn't telling a lie there. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I thought that was a good finish. It was still intense, but we know there were high stakes. There's a world championship, and I really liked one. They painted the scene. Punk painted a scene. Here's what happens if I win. I'll be standing tall, hold the belt, um,
Mhm.
and he could have played into a little bit like, and I will prove my relevance here, something like it, because Roman was he was really playing up the idea that he was irrelevant, or wasn't
Mhm.
doing enough with his moment of relevancy. But then Roman, painted a picture. We're going to take this place back to where it was,
Mhm.
and it said, okay, Roman's got something to gain besides the world title. So yeah, Paul, tell me what you thought.
Whew, yeah, this was a nice turn in the story. I wasn't sure I knew that we needed another chapter, but turns out we did. They really went a long way. I think Punk came off really strong in his argument for his passion for the business, and admitting his envy, but having good reason and resenting Roman in the same way that, quite frankly, a lot of fans resent Roman.
Yeah.
So I think he reestablished his connection with fans here. It was nice to see Roman come across as gracious. I'm not exactly as sure what Roman's mission statement is here, or what his journey is, other than he's better. But yeah, this was the best of their interactions.
Do you have a thought based on what we saw tonight on what the outcome will be and how it'll play out? Any more than
Whew.
you did?
Um,
Because sometimes there's clues,
yeah.
in promos like this. Um, and so, I'm just curious if you kind of come away from this thinking, oh, yeah, I think based on the stakes that were explicitly stated by both, this is where I'm leaning now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Punk made a stronger case. So if I was to base my prediction on this, on tonight, I would swing more towards thinking Punk has a chance of retaining.
Yeah. So, it was not one thing I'm really happy is they did not talk about Pat McAfee.
Mm.
They didn't acknowledge him, and I'm glad Punk got to say what he said. McAfee then went out and said what he said. And my feeling on McAfee was the wrestlers who he is disrespecting, no matter how he perceives it himself, in his euphoric, untouchable
Mm.
state that he's in, and the mic that he's given because of the platform that he has, and the higher up at TKO who is enamored with him. I'm glad that the wrestlers chose not to tonight.
Mm. Didn't dignify his remarks with a response.
Exactly. Yep. He did not deserve to be even alluded to in the closing segment, and he wasn't. And it's hard. It's got to be hard for Punk to not respond, because his nature is he must respond to everything. And he sometimes responds in a way where before he opens his mouth, you're on his side. And by the time he's done, you're sort of maybe against him, or at least thinking he could have handled it better, even if you're still on his side. So this was good. I mean, I'm glad. In the chat, Fawner916 says, I prefer Punk to win. He can still carry great promos. However, someone else in the chat said that Oba should win. And then here it is. Mr. Freshman 92 says, good go home show. Roman should win, and so should Oba to set up a showdown at SummerSlam. Now, it's not time to hint about anything that you're going to deliver or get hopes up for something you're not going to deliver. But what's cool is I think this promo gave fans a chance to think of, okay, what happens if Roman wins? Oh, Bloodline's back on top. The leader of the Bloodline is back on top. But if Punk wins, he is proving to Roman that he is relevant beyond the 2 months that Roman so graciously afforded him. So, yeah, I think there was I think people are imagining what happens next now instead of just thinking, oh, who scored the most points tearing each other down with things that sound true that make me think less of both people.
Yeah. Good point. This was a different way of going about it, and it really worked.
Yep. All right, as far as predictions for the finish, well, Mark Biscetti says, guys, this was their Night 2 main event go-home show, and it was their second best segment. But this has been sloppy storytelling, and we have 2 main events where they've made both match outcomes mean less. They closed the gap. They covered some ground here. I think the outcome to Reigns Punk means something. Had they taken this stance the whole time, I would have preferred it. I mean, Cody had an amazing quote on a media interview just saying, Randy and I had all this history to draw from. He talked about, their history together, and instead, Pat McAfee is the story, and here we are. I mean, you can just tell it's deflating and good for Cody for speaking up in a context like that while still being sort of politically safe, I guess. That worked. So Pun LV 19 says, I'm still calling that Jay turns on Roman and we get a Punk win. So you always want to think, good wrestling booking will often have something you establish and then it kind of lays in the weeds and you don't draw attention to it. But then when it happens, you're like, oh, that's right. I should have seen it coming, or that makes sense. I do think there's there's a reason to believe something like that could happen. The question is, do they want to end WrestleMania with an angle? Do they want the outcome of this match to not solve who's better? Yeah. It's like, and I shouldn't put it past WWE. I mean, Michael Cole said Lyra scored a big victory tonight. Well, no, she didn't. She had help. Like it didn't count for anything because there was interference leading to it. But the culture, the presentation of WWE and the instinct of the announcers is, if somebody wins under any condition, it's a big win. It's like Lyra didn't beat anybody on her own. That doesn't really count. That's like, what a big win if you beat somebody on a football field on the snowiest day of the year when the starting quarterback and 4 of their top players, get hurt in the first 10 minutes of the game. It counts as a win. It might be a big win if it leads to a playoff berth, but it's not like it didn't prove anything. So I don't put it past WWE to thus book a shenanigan finish, a big angle finish. But my thinking is, I think there'll be a clean, my leaning is a clean finish, but I could see if they want Jay to turn heel. Let's just say that's something that you're looking at. That I think is the Raw after Mania. Like you have Jay come out and you taunt Rome and you go, you let us down. You're supposed to be the tribal chief, and look what you did at WrestleMania. And he rubs it in. I think that's more likely a direction that they would go. The way that they would go that direction is maybe a better way to put it. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah. If they don't give us a clean win in the main event of WrestleMania, I mean, what are we watching for? Yep. Right. Yep. So, so I certainly hope that you're right. And I hadn't thought of it, but I do like the idea of Jay turning heel again. I think that's his lane. Yep.
All right, let's pause quickly, introduce the show, and then let's go back to some chat comments. And then we've got Darrell calling up, who wants to be on the show. We also have Javier, who was with me Friday on SmackDown. Javier Machado, Torch contributor. He was coasting SmackDown. He wanted to enter the realm tonight because it wasn't particularly on topic, and we went long on Friday. He's got something he wants to bring up too, so we'll get to him in a little bit. This is the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Post Show for Monday, April 13th, 2026. And I'm Wade Keller, host of the show, editor, publisher, and founder of the Pro Wrestling Torch weekly newsletter. Been publishing it nearly 4 decades since I was a teenager. Headline, McAfee says WWE is now absolute shit. What a great moment. WWE putting that out there. Paper copies, if you want to go a little analog in your life, like a lot of people are kind of trying to shift back to, check out details on subscribing, pwtorch.com/govip. That also tells you how to get an online VIP membership. It's WrestleMania season. We've got so much VIP exclusive content in our archives. If you get a full VIP membership, decades of WrestleMania post-show roundtables, even more retro reviews of every WrestleMania. We had our VIP roundtable after AW Dynasty last night. Joshua White and Rich Fan and I spent our 20 minutes reviewing that show. Had a blast talking about it. Had a lot of fun. It was a good show. Very AEW-like in certain ways, but also a little more mature and restrained, and we covered that. So that's VIP exclusive. Check it out. Our podcast on the VIP feed are compatible with the Apple Podcast app, which is nice. There's no password or event settings. Works with just about any other iOS or Android app. Also can sync up with Spotify if you sign up through Patreon, and you can also sign up using your Apple account on your phone, so you don't have to even enter any information or anything like that. Lots of ways to sign up to get various tiers of content. All the tiers include ad-free versions of our free shows, by the way, so the commercial breaks go away on this show and others, like the PWTorch Daily Cast. Lots of cool benefits, and like I say, nearly 4 decades of fascinating archives. So good time to go VIP. And then you can follow our reports on WrestleMania in an ad-free environment. All the ads are gone, and just it's replaced with VIP content. So check it out, pwtorch.com/govip. But we're here to talk Raw, the Raw before Mania. And one way that you can participate in our post shows is by emailing Wade Keller postshow@gmail.com, especially if you can't join us live on YouTube or be in the chat. That's a way for you to send an email in, and then you go to bed, or you're going to listen to us on the podcast side of things in the morning. That's a way you can get your question or comments on the show. Wade Keller postshow@gmail.com. Another way you can participate is calling us, and the link to be a caller is in my TV report at PWTorch, the website. So just go to PWTorch, look for my Raw report. That link changes with every show, so you have to go to my report and find it. That link is at the top and bottom. Click on it, as Darrell has done, and you can be a caller. And by the way, check out my reports. I cover Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown, along with, I'll be doing it for WrestleMania, just as I did for Dynasty last night. My live coverage, a written report that'll give you all the key details on what's going on the show, along with analysis of key matches and segments. VIP members get the ad-free version of it, of course, but everybody can read my report for free at the free PWTorch. And the other way you can participate tonight is in the chat. We got a live chat on our YouTube channel. If you're listening to us on the podcast side of things, which is the vast majority of you have been on the podcast side of things a lot longer than YouTube, you can join us live. You're invited to join us live on YouTube. Just go to the PWTorch channel on YouTube and stream us live. We're on I host after Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown, and then we also have a post-NXT show, and we'll have post-WrestleMania shows, both night 1 and night 2, if all goes as planned, just as we did for Dynasty last night. If you missed that, check out the AEW Dynasty post show, the free version on our PWTorch YouTube channel, or you can get the podcast audio version of it on the PWTorch Daily Cast feed. Just search PWTorch to subscribe for free to the Daily Cast. Of course, that's included on our VIP feed if you're a VIP member, and as noted, you get the commercial-free version of it. All right, so we're here to talk Raw, and Paul Weigle is my guest co-host. He is a PWTorch contributor. Paul, welcome back. Fun week to have you on.
Thanks. Such a pleasure to be here, and love talking wrestling. I am a contributor. I write the WWE Rising and Fading Stars column every week, and a longtime VIP subscriber. My absolute favorite is the post PLE roundtables and WrestleMania. So that is there are many perks I enjoy, but that is my favorite podcast of the year.
Awesome, thank you for the endorsement and your support over the years, and it's great to have you on the team now, helping out with written content and also co-hosting. All right, let's go back to the chat. I think I got everything covered that I needed to cover. So let's go back to some chat comments here and we can kind of respond to them. Obviously, a lot of people have a lot to say, not only about the closing segment, but the top chat buzz topic is the Femi promo and Brock Lesnar in the build for that. But we got a lot more to cover. All right, Real Legend says, what an ending segment. Indeed, yeah, it was. Adam Kidd said that was the best go-home segment in 15 years.
Wow.
Paul, where are you on how good this was? I mean, I don't have a memory that can recall and rank off the top of my head the best go-home segments, the best closing segments. But this was a good one, not just because of what it included, but also the absence of the stuff that was irritating me for the last month.
Yeah, there was a lot of good stuff there. I love how Punk entered through the audience, kind of drawing from his connection with the audience. I love how Roman threatened him, but he disarmed Roman by apologizing. I think this might be the first ever honest apology we ever got on pro wrestling that wasn't followed by a backhanded compliment.
I'm suspicious CM Punk was AI tonight. He refused to apologize. They created an AI version of him to cut this promo.
Jeez, if only he had done this weeks ago. So there was a lot to like here. Great story. I did think it really led the audience to be split. I think the audience in attendance, they didn't know who to root for. I think it seemed like they slightly sided with Punk, but so it wasn't sort of an intense audience reaction because so many were split. So that would be my only criticism.
I think it is noteworthy, and I always have a caveat when I talk about crowd reactions because does it come across the way the building is mic'd? Acoustics are always different, but everything did feel a little reserved. This was not like, except for like, well, actually, I take it back. Femi was so loud and so over, and we know what just full on. And that's what I talk about as a peak fan experience and why I'm an advocate for the home team, away team, the babyface and heel construct. Doesn't mean babyfaces can't have some I'm trying to avoid shades of gray, but like shades of gray to their motivations, to their actions, to their moral compass, to their tactics, to their personality, to being a good sport. They can test your patience, but in the end, you like them and you're rooting for them. Sometimes to improve themselves, sometimes to just achieve their dreams. And heels on the other side. Oben Brock is exhibit A right now. That is what I think. I mean, can you promote a very different pro wrestling product? Yes, but that's not the business WWE or AEW in, or TNA for that matter, or NXT. But I think they've lost sight of it, trying to be with the times. And there's a time and place for a dream match, and then there's a way to promote it. Roman and Punk, two baby faces. The first promo looked like good start. I'm not against a face-face matchup, that Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan type thing, but if you do it all the time or so often, it loses. You end up not giving fans. Nobody wants to go to neutral site hockey games in the middle of the season. They want. I'll go to a neutral site NHL playoff game anytime. I mean, especially a game 6 or 7. But they don't offer that. As a nobody comes to your local arena during the regular season and offers you a game between two teams that aren't from your city. And you don't want to do a match that feels that way too often. So we know what it's like when a crowd is super into somebody. And I would say the crowd was not into Roman or Punk equal to Oba. I don't even think if you add up Punk and Roman, the Punk Roman, it equals Oba, which is a testament to Oba, and we'll get to him. But it does, I think, illustrate something I've been saying the last month, which is I think they're doing damage to each other. I think this is landing a little too much because they're both so good at what they do that when you're targeting somebody. So anyway, Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just think it was interesting that sometimes you'll get a crowd that loves both guys and they'll be like dueling chants, they'll be excited, but this crowd just seemed a little bit confused and deflated. So I think that supports your theory.
Darrell, who we'll talk to in a moment here, says in the chat, Punk and Roman was good. They had a lot to live up to. I felt like they both needed one more line. I'm interested to talk to Darrell about that. I agree. I think there was a little bit more that they could have done. But I mean, this is a case of 2020 hindsight a little bit more than what are they doing? Oh my God. It's not that. Dougie Dog said, weird, abrupt ending to the final segment. Maybe playing into Darrell saying it felt like there was a little bit more to say when they cut away. David Hager says, why in this Roman Punk feud? Roman never talks. For once, I would have liked Roman speaking for more than 2 minutes. I mean, Roman is... when Oba was talking, well, we're kind of bleeding over into the Oba thing, but when Oba was talking, I'm like, man, if Roman could have tapped into some of this when he was champion, Vince McMahon would have had the babyface lead star that he wanted to promote and build around, but Roman just didn't have it in him to do what he did. But I want to save the Oba praise. I want to focus mostly on Roman here. Would you, Paul, have liked to have heard Roman talk more?
Yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised he didn't. And again, I feel like I know why Punk is there, what he's fighting for. I'm not really sure for Roman. He wants things to go back, I guess, to the way they were. Punk hasn't been that great, but his mission statement has been incomplete, I think.
Yeah, or a little. Maybe you could say too little, too late. But better off late than never. You know what? Pick your cliche. Too little, too late, but better late than never. I think both are in play here. David Hager says Roman as champ puts him in big feuds post WrestleMania, but he'll never be around, so it's a weird spot for him post WrestleMania. I think people would like to have heard Punk say, so it maybe felt more believable. Roman, I understand you're already talking about when you win the title, how you're going to be around more and you're going to defend the title more. Are you trying to live up to? Has some of the things I've said landed? Like maybe like frame it not as I'm revealing a secret that gives you a boost or gives away a finish, but frame it as, I think what I've said has gotten to you. You were a part-time, when you held the belt, you held it a long time, but how many title defenses did you really have? They didn't really go there, and I don't think they want to undercut the 1,300 plus day thing. But there was a chance in some way to paint a picture of Roman might win because Punk just said something we didn't know, which is he's negotiated to appear more often if he wins the title. And that, I hear you want to have a title reign that really makes a statement. If you win, no, that could also turn the fans against Punk in a way that Punk doesn't want. If they're like, oh, I want to see Roman every week on TV. But if you workshop it, I think you can come up with something where that isn't hanging over the match, which is, well, Roman's part-time. He's not winning the title. And if he does, he's not going to be around very much. Do we really want someone holding the title hostage who's not only around, for 4 out of 6 weeks every 4 months, which is kind of the pattern.
Yeah, I agree. I think it also would have been good if they talked a little bit about why they were going to win in terms of their physical matchup.
Yeah, really.
Roman talking about how like, hey, you were great, but you've lost a step, and I still have youth. And Punk saying I've forgotten more tricks than you've learned. Like I've got the skills, and there really was none of that. It was a battle of ideas rather than a wrestling match. It seemed.
Yeah, Roman could have said just something like, I wish I could face the CM Punk that John Cena did 14 years ago. Or, whatever the exact number is. I wish I could face that. But Phil, he shouldn't do Phil anymore. But you, Punk, and your fans know you're not that anymore. And Punk can go, I'm not. But then he does what you said, Paul. And that is, I'm not that same person. I'm different. In some ways, I'm not who I once was physically. But in other ways, I'm hungrier, I'm smarter, I'm more focused. And you know what? You're not who you were 8 years ago either, because, or 4 years ago, you're not, there's something different about you because you're rich, you're famous, you've got all these other things going on. I don't think you want this enough. I think if you wanted it as much as I want it, I might be a little nervous. I'm not sure you want it. Boom, Roman shows fire, goes, you don't think I want it? I want it. So I think maybe that's what the chat's saying. Like, let's, if there's a little bit more to be had, there's a crescendo. But what sometimes comes across is wrestlers are scared to pretend that the fight is real. And like, it's okay to talk what you said, Paul, about strategy. I think the GTS is better than your spear.
Yep.
I think I can duck your Superman punch. But I don't think you can, that back and forth about signature moves, I think would be something I would go to more often in match hype. Yeah. Comment from Mr. Freshman 92. It was refreshing to hear them not tear each other down again and actually spoke truth. I believed both of what they were saying. Intentional Rounding says that ending promo is on the Mount Rushmore of great segments ruined by the crowd. What chance in looking at themselves on the Jumbotron while these guys are
Oh,
creating cinema?
jeez.
Pun intended. Shame. I mean, the Roman Reigns song, Cody, I mean, you can tell Cody doesn't like it, and I wish fans kind of picked up on that. Fauner in the chat says, I prefer Punk to win. He can still carry great promos.
True.
Can
he carry a great match? I'm not so sure.
Yeah. Well, that's there's an artistry of what they're going to do. That's going to be, they're going to have a whole team, mapping things out. Fauner says the Punk and Reigns match needs to be a step above. I'm trying to be optimistic for about 3 stars. I worry though. Yep. I mean, I get it, but that's not what WWE's selling. I mean, MJF and Kenny, they're selling. This is going to be a great match between, someone at the tail end of their prime and someone at the beginning of their prime. That's not what this is. Darrell says, I wish they would have done this early with Punk and Roman because this is what one of the main title matches needed. It could have been Cody Randy, by the way. You can just tell it's eating up Cody that he didn't get to do this.
Poor Cody.
Derek Mitchell chimes in, king of the super chat here on the show. My issue with Punk's comments about being born in the wrestling family and Roman being born on third base doesn't automatically mean you're going to have success. There are more people who failed than succeeded. That is a fact. But you are guaranteed. I mean, you're guaranteed an opportunity if you're dropped onto third base to get home a lot more, but it is not a guarantee you make it home, just to extend the baseball analogy. So Derek is right, but it is a head start that a lot of people don't have. Like Vince McMahon would always say, oh, Shane started in the mail room and Stephanie started in the warehouse, right? Whatever the thing was. And I'm like, well, it's easy to show up to work in a warehouse in a basement in your early 20s or teens if your dad owns a company and you know that you have a leg up on everybody else in that warehouse to move up the ranks. I'm doing this performatively so I can brag about it later, but I know that I'm getting the next gig. Now, by the way, Shane McMahon, born on third base, flamed out. He was not the heir apparent. Vince McMahon did not see that in him, and he wasn't. Shane's an average, intelligent guy, average, probably below average wrestling IQ, I would argue. And it was clear to Vince, this isn't going to be the guy. And, Stephanie was smarter, but, she's not running it either, but that's also in part because of her dad. But yeah, so I'm kind of underlining what Derek said, that you can be the son or daughter of the boss and still not end up taking over.
For sure.
They built a whole show Succession around that on HBO. The competition for it and the incompetency that can rise up when people are fighting for it. All right. Mr. Freshman says, you can tell that Roman truly believes he needs to be back on top because business hasn't been the same the past 2 years, and he's right. And of course, I will push back, Mr. Freshman. If you push Cody Rhodes the way Cody's supposed to be promoted instead of all this interference and meddling, where would he be? I mean, there's just, if you don't have ticket prices jacked up, if you don't announce Saudi Arabia for Rumble and WrestleMania and fans start resenting you, if you don't go pull the rug out from under New Orleans and go to Vegas, if you don't start, I mean, everything that TKO has done has eaten away at the goodwill that drove the boom period. And I would not blame Paul Levesque's booking. As imperfect as it is and as critical as we've been of aspects of it, it has been good enough, and it is just one tweak away from being really good. But he's just constantly looking over his shoulder and having to just play the political game of not speaking up and just kind of holding his breath and waiting to get through WrestleMania season until he can kind of get back in business. So so my point is I don't think they want to tell the story. I don't think Roman wants to tell the story that WWE is less successful and blame Punk for it. I don't think or Cody. I think Punk, Roman, and Cody are, I'm not saying they're best friends. I'm not saying they are or aren't, but I think they are bonding over the TKO and Pat McAfee meddling in what's going on. And I think they're on the same team in that regard. Okay. Mark Buscetti says that was 100% WWE trying to fix all the character damage they did, and it was obvious. Good promo, and Punk brought back the whole "tell me what I'm lying" lies shtick from AEW. Did you like that, Paul?
It was okay. I mean, most of the statements he was making is, "I'm jealous of you, and I think this, and I think that." Like, how's Roman going to call him out on lying about what he thinks? So I didn't think it worked as well as it had in the past. But to back up what you're saying, I feel like I like them both more now than I did a week ago. And I feel just more positive about watching it in general, even though seeing them tear each other apart was kind of salacious and interesting. But I feel better about both of them now.
Yep. I'm all for that. Fonner says a follow-up the past few years after Mania has been ported dreadful. Regardless of who wins, we need an exciting path forward.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Anthony B in the chat, welcome to the chat, says, in no world should Punk beat Roman.
Hmm.
I mean, fans are going to feel that way, but some are going to feel the other way too. Standard Deviation said, excellent promo. It's amazing what happens when the title is the center of your universe. Totally, absolutely true. Intentional Rounding says, it's interesting. Roman said he wanted to get rid of Punk's nostalgia act, but his own motivation of going back to the days of his epic title run is an appeal to nostalgia itself. I'll push back on that, Intentional Rounding, in the sense that Roman is, 8 years younger than Punk. I think Roman gets a second run in his early 40s, running, being on top. If it was in the cards, if that's what he really truly wanted, I don't think that's nostalgia yet. It's just running it back. I think in 8 years it's nostalgia, especially if there's a big gap. That I would.
Yep.
You're nodding, Paul. You agree?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, Roman has. I think that there's a good argument that he should win because he has more to give. It's like when Brock beat The Undertaker. I mean, he's got more main event. He can still go. He's got a lot more, main events in him than CM Punk does.
Yep. Fonner says, I'm worried about a Punk heel turn and retaining the title. I'm not a fan of. They need to stop going against the crowd's preferences. I haven't sensed the groundwork being laid for either Punk or Roman to turn heel.
Agreed.
Darrell says if they let both Roman and Punk talk like this and keep it simple with their history in the title, they would have gotten more things like this. There would have been better segments. There was a lot to do. It's a shame Cody and Orton didn't get to do all the things that they obviously could have also. Yeah. Derek points out 2 years in a row they're going to have someone close to Roman turn on him. Last year, Paul Heyman, and now Jay turning on Roman to help Punk. No, I don't see it.
Let's hope not.
Fonner says, if they're panicking and worried about business, they'll lean toward a shocking end to Mania. Maybe, although that would be the immature, wrong response. Oh, we need a hot shot. I mean, a lot of the time when if you're panicking over business being down, and I don't think they should be, I think they need to just look at, we're in Vegas 2 years in a row. The economy is, people are nervous about the economy. Gas prices are up. Ticket prices were too high. I mean, it's just, there's a lot going on. It's sometimes when business is down, you got to go, we're doing it right. We just need to fly through the storm and stay the course.
For sure.
Fonner says, Paul Levesque's been notorious lately for screwy finishes, even at the past Manias. I'm betting on something shocking.
Oof.
Mr. Freshman says, Punk selling out to The Rock? You're smoking crack.
That would be a bit out of character.
Standard Deviation says, where does Punk's go home promo for the main event WrestleMania rank among the 50 total go home promo episodes? Oh, number 11. I don't know. It's just in the moment, it was good. I mean, oh gosh, I lost my train of thought because the dog's ringing the bell and wants to go out behind me. The go home promo. That's what I was going to say. The go home promo is so different now than it used to be. I mean, it's just, there's a real difference now to the live Raw long form. If you go back to some, closing of the earlier WrestleManias, I mean, it was different, and so I don't even know how you fully compare the eras.
Is that because people aren't thinking about whether we want to open up their wallets every time? Is that why they're so different?
No, it's because it's a live 2.5 hour show, and they have a lot more time, and it's always live, and it's like, I'm talking about like the 1 hour era of Raw and that kind of thing.
Oh,
yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Do you have a favorite WrestleMania go home?
No, I have no memory of top ones. That's not how my mind works. It's not off the top of my head. I mean, I could sit down and spend all day researching it and reliving it, but absolutely have no. That's just, I don't have a recall of where I can do that. There are people who I've had on staff who absolutely could, and I'm jealous of that. But I need to refresh my memory. What's that looks like a neck warmer, a comfortable neck massage you just put on your neck.
Living,
I know. Yeah, that's wonderful. That's good. We had a cat appearance. It's a pretty regular thing here on the show on the video side of things. DD James says, I watched the Punk Roman promo and wondered if Wade Keller wrote it. I understand that. I take that as a compliment. I mean, it was it addressed. I mean,
there's got to be times where you wonder, Yeah, are they listening to me and taking direction? I mean, there's got to be times.
Well, I know for a fact a lot of them listen to me because I hear back from them, but I don't.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I don't. I don't go. To me, my take is they had this planned 6 weeks ago. This was the
Hmm.
crescendo, and what I was saying sounded obvious to them. Wade, wait, we'll get to it. That's kind of my
Okay.
take on this more.
Hmm.
But I mean, of course, yeah, of course, there's people who listen to this show on their flight home. I've been doing this for decades. Have wrestlers grow up listening to me before they became wrestlers, and people, writers who,
Hmm.
been reading the Torch longer than they've worked in WWE. Hello, everybody listening to me on your AirPods on the flight home. Yeah, I mean, I know that happens. I don't know
Hmm.
to what extent. Obviously, not everybody's going to say that, um, but there are times where it's pretty clear that
Hmm.
either they're hearing what I'm saying, but sometimes what I'm saying, I think other people are saying too. Like, I think,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I'm the only person who ever critiques something in a way where then a course is corrected. Sometimes the course correction is the obvious thing to do. And I feel like I've been saying the obvious thing, and they finally came around to do what was obvious, regardless of what I said. So that's my
Hmm.
a true, and trying to be a
Yeah.
little more humble than just going, yep, I'm writing WrestleMania promos for Punk and Roman. My God. But I get somebody saying that because this really, I'm just, they did the things that I was hoping largely that
Hmm.
they would do. And I think that they ultimately executed it better than I would have come up with. But it's not my job to come up with, so I don't know. I don't sit around. I
Hmm.
don't have all week to think about one segment. I'm
Right.
just watching every show, doing a bunch of podcasts. So, but they should do a really good job with this stuff because it's their craft and they have all week and a
Hmm.
team to do it. This was a result, I think, of maybe recognizing some of the negatives,
Yeah.
and course correcting. All right, Sadler Version 3 says, I like the ending segment, but I could see some people being underwhelmed because it lacked the schoolyard disses and oohs and ah moments. And I say, screw them. I do. I mean, like, whatever. Javier is in the background applauding. I do not care if a bunch of people who want a flame war as WrestleMania hype
Hmm.
with two legends acting in an undignified way, tearing each other down, makes them feel
Yeah.
sad that they didn't
Yeah.
get more of that. I mean, that's who cares?
Yeah,
Your
they
job's
should
to
be
sell
happy.
tickets.
Yeah, they should be happy they got to hear Liv Morgan say the B word, I guess, so they can be
There you go.
pleased about that.
Real Legend said, I thought Punk entering through the crowd was another reference to the Shield and how Roman used to enter through the crowd.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I wasn't sure. He didn't look too happy going through the crowd. I didn't know if
it
that
was,
was
I, yeah, I mean, he's like, leave me, if he's at a Blackhawks game, leave me alone. Let me just enjoy hockey. He's gotten into it with fans before in the crowd. There's a famous
mm,
incident. And if someone touches him the wrong way and he's in a mood, I mean, he's going to escalate things. So it was
mm.
brave of them. It was brave of them to do that for sure. Real Legend said, I thought Punk entry through the crowd was another reference to the Shield and how Roman used to enter through the
Mm.
crowd.
Mm.
And Intentional Running said, it's funny, if you remember, Punk made a totally insincere apology earlier in this build. You mentioned that too, Paul.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we're used to hearing in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
It was nice to hear the sincere kind for a change.
Mark Boschetti says, I can't rank it that good of a promo with the overall story feeling so weak. It was a great promo, though. No pushback there. I just didn't feel the electricity.
Mm.
I went all for somebody wants to put together and I don't mean this literally, but like if somebody put together, I'm just sitting in like a big screen TV, great sound, and I just sit down and I can watch someone's, top 20 or just 20 of the most famous, not even necessarily good,
Mm.
most 20 famous go home segments. And you just kind of spend a day doing that.
Mm.
A couple 4-hour shifts. That would be a really fun experience. The thing is every go home segment works. Like looking back on it, it's going to work differently than it did at the moment in time. The moment in time,
Right.
you had everything else going on, the context, the rhythm, not knowing
Mm-hmm.
how history would view Rock versus Cena, part 1, part
Yep.
2, not knowing how they're going to, like there's just so many huge matches, but it's not just the go home segment. So you can't put yourself in a time machine and go back, because part of what makes a go home segment really compelling is it's teasing various scenarios that could change the course of wrestling history. But when you know the course of wrestling history, that element is taken away. And so, I mean, that's why it's hard. It's hard to like really rank them, even looking back. But it would still be fun to do it. And you could rank it in some other way, but it would be a different criteria than how effective was it in real time. Only Isaac in the chat said, welcome to the chat. I'm only polling for a Punk win. I'm incredibly tired of Roman's act and do not care to have another part-time guy who does not care to hold a title. And again, I mean, what Isaac's saying there is why I didn't think the last month of promos were good, because it rang too true. There are fans thinking, Punk, we love you, but you're too old to be headlining. You're brittle. You're injured. You know what? You're thin-skinned. You're a hypocrite. It's like you're saying things that are, and they did. Roman didn't go, and you were an MMA flame out and an embarrassment, and all. Like there's things they stayed away from.
Sure.
But it still came too close. And with Roman, you're a part-time guy who treats everybody like a prick, and fans are like, oh, that's right. That's why we don't like him. Why do we like him again? Oh, because he's cool. Well, there's other people who are cool now. So like, just I don't think you just throw a bucket of cold water on a hot act as a in claim that you're building a match. All right, let's see. Well, I mean, the chat's just lighting up here. I don't know if I want to stay on the chat forever here, but someone just Adam Kidd pointing out Roman had the cold open too, to kind of set it up. They wanted to establish. I thought it was a little overproduced. I think sometimes Roman stuff just feels a little too like fancy and overproduced. But Derek says
it was a nice hook for the end of the show.
That's the thing.
Saying, I'm going to call you out.
I just would have done without the music. I feel like suddenly it feels like a trailer for a movie that the studio put together instead of something sort of more authentic that lands. I just don't think it works as well in the pro wrestling context. I'm not a fan of the WrestleMania vignettes where they're sitting down at the poker table. It just feels too slick and produced. And I think pro wrestling is better when it feels gritty and when you're not just flaunting the idea that if you call people to go to a commercial shoot, they all show up and get along. Like I think it takes something away from the kind of the immersive vibe that you get that you can't, I like, by the way, Adam Pearce going, we're doing the contract signing, but separate, that works. And it's why I'm against the slick, we're going to do cinema. It's like sometimes the people with visions for, producing fancy stuff, they just want to show off what they can do. And they want to create this sort of, and I get there's a gloss to WrestleMania. We won't do these vignettes for everything. But to me, it's more compelling. It's more immersive to think we couldn't possibly do a promo shoot with these people because a fight would break out. Like, I mean, whatever.
Totally.
Okay. Derek Mitchell says, it's clear Roman wants to restore his previous run as the tribal chief and the power he had, but not before. Not sure why that's hard to understand. Intentional. Oh, go ahead.
I would just like to, I'd like to hear him talk about that. People don't look at me in the same way. Like, I'd like to hear him, express why that's important to him. And I really didn't. And I haven't seen him show any interest in getting the old band back together, getting the bloodline back. Yeah. So it makes sense what you're saying, but I just would like to have heard a little more from him about that.
Yep. I think that's very fair. Roman's character is a mafia boss, a man of few words that have great effect. It wouldn't fit for him to go on a 15-minute Triple H-esque soliloquy. Oh, and that's totally the argument. I mean, the question is, I think that should be the policy in general, but the question is, can you do a little bit more along the lines of, here's why I want to win, here's what's going to happen if I do. But I'm that's not a strong feel. It got brought up in the chat. I don't feel strongly about that. But if I'm WWE, I'd look for opportunities where you can do it, where it won't undercut kind of the mafia boss man, a few words, saying you don't want Roman to be wordy. There's a dignity and a gravitas to him that includes an economy of words, and I don't think he wants to risk that. Jay in Hartford, Jay, good to hear from you again. Been a while. Punk and Roman did well tonight. They focused on the desire to be the best. All you people showing up for WrestleMania season, where are you going to be in May? We're going to be in July. Come on, show up here in the chat. No, it's great. It's great to see us big numbers and people showing up in the chat here that we haven't heard from in a while. I get it. I'm not going to watch a baseball game unless my team makes a World Series. And there's just some fans who have busy lives and they show up every now and then.
Sure.
And you got to get up early for work and all that. But this was it's WrestleMania week, so I expect. I'm not surprised we got some people showing up. Intentional Running says Roman became the legend he is today once he stopped having to go out there and speak at length. Yes. Yep.
Good point.
Cavanti Small.
And gosh, he is a cool character. I mean, he just carries himself like he is like a Roman god come down from Olympus to speak to humans. I mean, he is remarkable.
Absolutely. Cavanti says WWE storytelling is too weak for its top star champ to be absent for 3 months at a time. Yes, but that's why I would include if he wins, he's going to be around more. Of course, if he wins and he's not going to be around more, you can't say that, and that could be happening too. Four Eyes Malone, they're trying to go for a dramatic primetime TV cliffhanger with Roman's last words with the program turning off. Yeah, just be a sporting event. Don't try to be something you're not. Embrace what you are. Don't try to be something else. Real Legend said, I prefer Punk's wrestling over Roman's. Ian Huey says, yeah, if Punk wins, who does he feud with next? Yeah, I mean, it's not my job to solve that problem, but you'd hope that there are turnkey matches that people will be excited about. Forrest Wilson says, CM Punk's too old and rich to still be whining about coming from nothing. I disagree. No, I disagree with that. He's not whining. He's opening up. He's opening up that Roman, you got to pass.
And I think the most important part is him framing himself as one of us. Like that's why I have a hard time, even though I realize that Punk seems like a total jerk, but he's like our jerk, right? He's a wrestling fan just like us. Is Roman really a wrestling fan? I don't know, kinda, I guess. But I think that's one of the reasons that fans really connect with Punk.
One of the reasons they didn't connect with Roman was a phrase I used with Roman when he was getting pushed to the top babyface, which is he was emotionally inaccessible. There was a guard up. I am not one of you. I don't want to be one of you. Look at you people. I mean, that's like the vibe he gave off even as a babyface. Lex Luger had that too. Like, if I pretend that I want to high five you, it's going to feel so insincere. Do you want me to pretend? Because you're not going to buy it. Like, that is Roman showing up for work every weekend, his babyface push. And I'm not saying genuinely he's like looking down and judging people, but Roman's like a jock. He's like this handsome, tall guy.
Yep.
And he can make Punk's, in a wrestling realm, more of a runt. He's a, he's a, pencil-necked geek, as he once called me on ROH color commentary when I was doing photography. We both have long necks and we're both tall and slender. But our build, I mean, that's, but I'm not a pro wrestler. So I can just standing here talking into a microphone, but that is an issue. Obviously that's a thing with Punk, that he is more a fan living out a dream. And I think when he plays into that and opens up in a way that Roman can't, it's effective. And he didn't have a family. He was, he did have come from a broken home, and he did have the Andy crew and the ROH crew were his family. He's speaking the truth. All right, a couple other things, and then we'll get to calls. We got Ian calling up too, a long-time listener. Dougie Doug says, Teddy DiBiase Jr. was a third generation, and all he has to show for it are a few welfare fraud charges. That's the third base thing. Yep, third base thing. All right, give me a second. Don't interject, because I want to get to a call, but I want to close out a couple comments here. Azan White said, Punk and Roman definitely feels historical. Sadler Vision 3 says, I prefer Punk win because I don't want the main event picture on Raw stalled again for Roman's title. Cavanti Small says, my only concern with Roman win is he'd effectively kill all the momentum the world title has gained since he'd be an absent champ, gone 3 to 6 months at a time post WrestleMania season. That's why I think it would be so important for Punk to kind of spill the beans and go, yeah, Roman, I hear if you win, you're going to be around more. Oh, I'll believe it when I see it. Just a little something. Where it's like Punk taking a dig, but in reality, it's opening up more of a possibility in fans' minds. Roman could win. Standard Deviation says Roman's golden pitch was, I'll bring back the past when things were good. Whereas Punk's final pitch was, this is my childhood dream, and I'm sorry I hate you, but I want this so bad. I mean,
well said.
Yep. Goodfella says night 1 has over 40,000 tickets sold and 42,000 tickets sold for night 2, as per a Google search. That seems pretty good. That's a thing. They are. I say this regularly recently. They're acting like this is going to be like a one embarrassment of empty seats. I mean, they're going to have more ticket revenue on this weekend than maybe any weekend ever, or it's going to be number 2 or number 3 or whatever. It's just like, this is crazy success. It's just from not being able to brag about selling out instantly, they're feeling vulnerable about that. Let's see.
Most of us who wanted to travel to WrestleMania, or travel to Vegas to see WrestleMania went last year. Yep.
A lot of people suggesting different go-home segments that they want. That is a whole separate show. Derek Mitchell says, I agree with Wade. It's hard to rank go-home segments. Hogan and Andre didn't have a go-home segment. Their segment was Andre challenging Hogan for the WWF title at WrestleMania 3 in a Piper's for WrestleMania 3 in a Piper's Pit. Yeah, there was just a different cadence to things back then. Okay. Let's go to calls. The chats. I'm genuinely interested in what the chats say about all this in our discussion, but I got to pull myself away here this deep in. Let's bring Darrell in. Darrell Freeman, are you ready for us, Darrell?
Can you hear me? How y'all doing today?
Yep. Now I'm going to tell you, we got Javier who's got to get up in the morning waiting, and then Ian waiting, and we're already almost an hour in. So give me your best stuff, Darrell. But we're not going to. I don't want. I'm in fairness to the other. I'm letting the other two know so they don't hang up that we're not going to spend 20 minutes with you.
Oh yeah, that's no problem.
Cool. Yeah.
You were saying something earlier. You wanted to know what I was meaning about it was missing a line. I felt like the promo that both of them cut could have happened like 2 weeks after what he called out Roman's dad and stuff like that. So tonight being a go home, I was looking for that line that made you get ready to expect and crave to see the match happen and see them clash and stuff like that. Tonight just felt like they was trying to put a structure together so you will understand why they having this match. And we should have had that a couple of weeks ago. So they were missing that one line to put the expectation up and make you want to, I want to turn it on tomorrow to watch it. So that's what's the line that I was missing.
Yep. Good point, Darrell. I'm with you. I mean,
there was no mic drop moment for sure.
I like this segment. This segment was, I think, cleaning up a bit of a mess. It closed some of the ground. I think damage was done that wasn't all fixed here. And I think there's, more they could have done as we sit here and reflect on it. But it's still a really, really good segment, and it was what was needed. And I want to focus on that more so. But it doesn't mean if we can't go back 6 weeks, you wouldn't say, hey, this worked really well. Let's do this 3 weeks ago and then have a couple follow-up promos that really build on it. Or have a part of what we saw here be part of something 2 weeks ago. And then this tonight is half of what we saw, but then some follow-up on it too or something. I mean, but, whatever. That's, Go ahead, Darrell.
Okay. In the chat, I said I seen 3 go-home promos tonight. Paul Heyman, Oba, and Gunther. I'm going to talk about the one that I really want to talk about last, but I'm going to talk about this one, Gunther. I like the simpleness. I like how he kept it simple. I like how he came in there and came at Seth Rollins, and he brought up history. Hey, when I was the world champion, when I was looking for people to come after me, you could have came after me. You claim that you're the best. I'm the best, because if you think about the last year and a half, 2 years, it has been Seth Rollins who has been the best in the ring. Then they switched over to Gunther, and you would think they would have had that clash. But we got to also talk about Seth having those injuries in those times, so he really couldn't challenge Gunther. But still, I like what Gunther said. He made that match that's been thrown together, and neither one of them really had too many talking segments, and made you want to see that match. That's what I was saying about go home promos. He made you want to see that match, even though, they brawled and got into it. But what did y'all think about that? How did y'all feel about it? Just, again, keeping it simple with that right there.
Yeah, Paul, take the lead on that.
Yeah, so I agree with you. This was short but effective, and the fact that they are, arguably the 2 best in-ring performers WWE has, that adds some weight to what he's saying. Who's really the best. So. And I really liked how in this WrestleMania we had some builds that started, at the Royal Rumble, and we had some builds that started like 2 weeks ago. So it kind of kept things from getting stale as they rolled them out. But I agree that was it was effective. It was short and sweet, and it worked.
It feels like they sort of just came up with it. Like it didn't. You didn't want to face me and I'm mad, so I want to prove that you're not who you say you. I mean, it does feel like it was retroactively created, but for that, with that in mind, it's fine. I mean, it felt, the performances were strong. I mean, it's 2 wrestlers who were going to have other opponents and they are out injured or they didn't have anything for them. And I mean, it still comes across that way. So, I mean, I guess a B-. It's fine.
I got you. Now, lastly, I want to go ahead and bring it in and break it in. Tonight, what I seen from Oba Femi, was just magnificent. I remember Wade talking years ago, and he used to harp on week after week. That's when we used to call on Blog Talk. And he would say, they have to put the mic in Roman's hand and allow him to talk and cut that go home promo that sells out arenas and make people want to come and buy tickets.
Yep.
And tonight, seeing even with Triple H standing in the black background, you can see the glow in his eye when Oba was cutting the promo and stuff like that. Just being on the main roster for just this short period of time, to me, out of those young people who they need to push up and have up, he just set himself apart from everybody else. You can talk about the athleticism of Braun Breaker and stuff like that, but that's the one thing that he's missing. They ain't gave him a chance yet, and they keep running away from that with him. You can talk about the Dom Mysterios and the character, how his character is just so probably spectacular more than everybody else. You can talk about the Trick Williams, who has the aura and that superstar feel more than everybody else. And you can talk about the Mellows and the Dragunov, who just got the in-ring work and could be going in the line with the Gunthers and Seth Rollins. You can talk about that, but over what he did in the night, it's not like he got the best of this or the best of that, but it seemed like he got a package that everybody's drawing behind. And the way he went back at Paul Heyman, who could have go home promo himself with Brock first and came out there in second half it, and he went back and forth with it, and he left. You could say he left Paul Heyman speechless with what he said, and you could believe it, and you can hear the fans want to rile and keep riling up with every word that he said. I bet you those fans, if they could just teleport to Vegas right now to watch that match right there, they would watch it after what they said tonight. And that was the go home promo that you wish the main event, which was good with Roman and Punk, had, but you wish they had some fire like that tonight to make you want to build off of what they were saying. And tonight, that was it. Muted, Wade.
Yep, I got it. Great Oba, sorry about that. Great Oba segment, same stale 20 years outdated shtick from Punk about how it came up with Bingo House 100 years ago, ready for Roman to take the title. A lot of people complimenting Oba in contrast to the build for Roman and Punk. But only Isaac says Oba and Brock should absolutely not main event. Brock should never be main event again. Opening night 2 is the correct call. But then, interesting chat comment, which is from David Hager. Oba on free TV is a huge mistake. That match could sell an ESPN subscription. I disagree with that. I mean, yes, it could sell. Tonight, it's like, okay, I need to figure out this. I need to call R-Truth and have him walk me through the steps on how to get ESPN Unlimited. He should have like a live hotline set up, like during the free shows, like an old telethon, like a public TV thing where he's on the headset and people can call up and get like tech help. And you got R-Truth and Danhausen like on the like answering phone calls. Trying to think who else you could add to it that would be fun. Anyway, I'll think about it. But and then have actually serious people too. But like literally, if you're confused how to do this, but you have a chance to talk to R-Truth, but call and like it would get people kind of excited. So anyway, that's my idea for the free hour on ESPN. On a more pertinent note to the question, I think exposing Oba, Femi, and Brock Lesnar to a larger audience in theory, a larger audience on ESPN than will watch on the premium tier. And who knows? I mean, maybe people won't. Maybe the only people who are tuning in are existing WrestleMania watchers, and it'll be a straggle, and it'll be more for the main event of the streaming show. But I doubt it. It's ESPN proper. I think a lot more people are going to see Oba and Brock, and you're introducing Oba to this new audience, to a new audience. And it's a type of match that, if done right, can get people excited about the WWE product because people will tune in for Brock. He's a, UFC guy. He's a mainstream crossover guy. Tainted in the Vince McMahon, Janelle Grant situation. But, obviously that's not holding him back from WWE pushing him right now, or fans, going bonkers for him. And so I think that's what he's getting at in his comments in the chat. But I think Lesnar's a draw to a mainstream fan in a way that nobody else on this show is, with all due respect to everybody else. So you put him on the free show, some eyeballs tune in, and more importantly than how many people watch WrestleMania this year, because WWE's making the same money either way. More important is how many people look at Oba Femi and go, I need to start watching every week again. This guy's awesome. And you're going to reach that larger audience. That's my response to David Hager. This is not the pay-per-view formula where, they could get an extra, it's not the AW current pay-per-view formula. We can get 50,000 extra buys if we save it. They're not worried about that. They want to make sure Oba's the guy. And Sadler in the chat says, I think this promo shot Oba past Braun, Dominic, and Trick as the number one prospect to be the face of the company in the next 3 to 5 years. What do you think of that statement, Paul?
Yeah, this was such a big night for Oba because this is the first time he really was able to cut a full length promo, and the crowd was so hot for him. And Paul Heyman set him up, and I have to admit, I wasn't sure. I thought he was gonna maybe fade because he's never given a promo on a stage like this before, and he didn't. He stayed right there with it. He seemed so authentic. So I think that this was a huge night for Oba, and I could see that. I could see him being I do agree that I can see him now as a top face of the company more than Braun or Dominic, certainly.
Sadler says, yeah, Brock Oba makes the most sense on ESPN. World title matches can be used to sell the subscriptions. But we also have good ideas in the chat for the telethon phone call to help you understand how to get ESPN Unlimited. Chelsea Green, suggested by JC Scooby. She can join Our Truth in Danhausen. Also, Derek Mitchell suggests Kit Wilson. He can tell everyone who calls up you're toxic and hang up on him. And 7-Eleven, so don't forget to do this, goes, I can already see it now. A promo with Danhausen and Cena ends with Cena ghosting Danhausen instead. You heard it here first. And I mentioned this in my TV report. David Hager says, ESPN proper. Sorry, Michael Cole. I'm sorry that Michael Cole added that stupid name tonight. It's a phrase that gets used, but he should have said the basic ESPN, the basic cable channel everyone gets as part of their cable package. It's going to be there for everybody. You don't need unlimited. I mean, just be explicit with it. And frankly, as a sidebar here, and I'll go back to Darrell after this, they should have done a video that simply walked you through with basically a screen capture on a computer or phone. Here is what you do. You go to, and Archer spewed the URL on Friday, in the lemonade stand setting, but just put it on the screen. Let's not be cute about it. Let's just make it really clear. Here's a website you go to. You're going to see this screen. If you have a cable provider, log in. It's going to tell you if you have ESPN Unlimited, and here, and scroll all the cable systems that you got ESPN Unlimited built in with your cable sub. Go, if you're one of the cord cutters, acknowledge that exists. If you don't, or just say if you don't have basic cable and you don't have access to ESPN otherwise, this is how you get it. And when you sign up, not only do you get WrestleMania, but you get for the price of a month, all this other stuff, and tout it. Let ESPN people come in and give them 30 seconds or 45 seconds to sell this. I think the stakes are too high, and they just turn into a cute thing with Our Truth, but they have an older demographic, and this is new to them, and they want to watch WrestleMania, and they're frustrated. So explain it in a straightforward way. No one's gonna just tune out and never watch WWE again if you do that. Maybe people might go, I know how to do this. I'm gonna let the dog out. Okay, fine, but I think they should. But so I hope they do that Saturday and Sunday. I hope in the opening hour, hope they just go, hey, it's been fun having Our Truth explain things, but let's just let's throw to Steve Kornacki at the big board to explain how this really works. All right, Darrell.
And that wouldn't take long if they did that way neither. They could just put it on the side of the screen and between one of the matches. It's
not hard to do. It's hard to listen to someone tell you how to do it. The visuals need to be there. Yeah. Derek Mitchell, by the way, with the super chats, I'll interrupt you, Darrell. The thing I'm worried about Oba getting over is his strut and the people in the crowd trying to do a strut with no rhyme. That could actually be kind of entertaining, but you don't want it to become a cartoon character. But I think he has a gravitas that I think will overcome the entrance seeming cartoonish, because we say it about Kenny Omega all the time, and he finally showed up last Wednesday and was a serious person for the first time in all his time in AEW. He's a serious person. He just didn't seem serious before, and on a lot of levels, he was serious in the build on that promo. Oba was a serious person from the onset tonight. He stared Brock Lesnar down these last few weeks. He looked at Paul Heyman and he said what needed to be said, and he said it in a way where you're like, all right, that guy's a star. He's in control. He is an alpha. And then he rattled off catchphrases that didn't sound like catchphrases. It sounded like things he would say that have become catchphrases because he said them because they're true, as opposed to I'm saying them because the marketing people decided it was a cool thing to say. That is a skill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you to Derek Mitchell. I hate the strut. I think he looks like one of the Seven Dwarves or something, and is the only uncool thing about Oba. So I hope he drops it.
Yeah.
I like it. It's cool. It fits him, you know. But I'm agreeing with you, Wade. This past couple of weeks, you've been being proven right. You've been saying some of these things for the longest to help build matches. I understand we want to see 5 stars and stuff like this, but to be able to get to a 5-star, whatever, you need to be able to say something for people to take you serious. And then the one thing you did say was he was cutting catchphrases that you could put on a shirt. And it wouldn't seem like something that somebody wrote for him and he was just repeating what somebody think he should say. Tonight, you got I am the one. Yep. I done heard people call the one. You done heard in Star Wars, they were like, Anakin, you were supposed to be the one and all that. He said it with that fit. I'm the mountain that you can't conquer, the hill that you can't climb. It remind me back with Stone Cold 316 promo. It was he cut that, and then that next Monday you seen people spray painting 316 Austin 316 on shirts. Like, this is how you needed, and this is what I meant by you needed this type of promo to have a go home and make you feel so. Night 2 already feel exciting because they had their go home promo with those guys, even though you got the biggest match with Punk and Roman on that same show. But that make you even want to watch them and go that further. I guess that's why they was missing that one line apiece. But yeah, that's all I had to say. That just killed me for the night, and it just proved everything that Wade been saying, because I've been listening to Wade for years, and Wade, that was the one thing he used to come on. I think he came on 7 weeks in a row talking about Roman needing to do this and sell this pay-per-view, and they won't let him do it. And now a new guy they put out there, he only been here 6 weeks, and they let him do it.
See, you've designed my T-shirt, Darrell. It just came naturally. My T-shirt would be Wade is right about everything. and it won't sound like a slogan. It's just organic truth. The Austin 316 thing. Oh, Paul, you nod. You're pondering.
No comment, Wade. No comment.
I'm okay. Anyway, so joking aside, the Austin 316 thing. They didn't know what they had. Austin said it, but it was like a throwaway line. It was a cool line, but it was like, okay, what am I going to say next week to top it? It wasn't, I'm going to say this every week for the rest of my career. It was, should I say it? Is it blasphemous? Is it catching on? Do people get it? What does it even mean? Like, I know at the time, firsthand, like they didn't know. They didn't know what they had. And then they quickly did. So that's the thing. Like, you stumble upon something organically, and then it becomes a catchphrase, as opposed to it starts off as a catchphrase and the person gets paid, scripted to say it. So, yep, that's what Oba's got going for him, and he spewed 3 cliches, and they all just sounded like natural things to say instead of prepared language. Darrell, thanks.
Yeah. No problem.
Appreciate it. Always good hearing from you, especially when you say that was right.
Right. I'm not sure Todd Martin would agree that you're always right. I wouldn't disagree with you.
Of course he wouldn't, but but I've been proven to be right about almost everything that he and I have disagreed on. Oh, that's going to get me in trouble. Javier is standing by. Javier, I don't want to keep you up too late here. How's it going?
It is going well. I promised I was going to call in today. Unfortunately, everything I had planned to talk about was taken care of this episode. So
you're contractually obligated to appear, but you have no reason to be here.
I felt bad because I say it every now and then that I'm going to do this, and then I don't show up, and I feel bad. Just want to mention on the Oba struts, and that's the last thing you guys talked about. That's kind of the way I saddled up to an actual buffet. So it's funny because I actually really like the strut, because the way he approaches the ring is kind of like, he's saying feed me without actually saying it. And he's kind of like, okay, you know, and he's not worried about it because he's so confident in how he's walking towards it. I don't know. I dig what he's saying with that actual walk to the ring.
Hold on, Javier. Only Isaac in the chat goes, I totally agree with Paul. The strut is goofy, makes him look like a jobber. I thought I was alone there.
No, I like it. I actually like it. I wouldn't cry if it went away, but it gives him the personality of, like, you know, the guy in the ring, because he doesn't do anything else beyond that. It's not like he starts dancing in the ring or anything beyond that. It's just like, okay, I'm going to go finish this, take care of my business, and then walk out, and that's it, you know. But not in a, I don't find it in a goofy way. It's in a, like, I am confident that I am going to do this, and I have no worries in life.
Sadler version 3 says, I like the strut, but I think he should only do it before matches. I did not like when Ric Flair turned his strut into a cartoony thing he did. Like, Flair, for all the praise he gets during his peak run, you know, there are some things he did that were a little too cartoonish. You know, the 3 steps in the fall face first down. He at first it really worked in territory. So when he was a heel and the local hero was maybe going to beat this arrogant champ from out of town, but it got cartoonized in a visual way, the way that Teddy DiBiase's $1 Million Laugh turned into just some cartoon thing that felt totally inauthentic and just a thing he did. It never felt like there was anything genuine to it. And Ted in the 80s under Bill Watts was amazing. Like, he was so authentic. So I don't like when something sort of gets cartoonized. And so there's a history of that in wrestling, and, you know, even the Flair strut, like, I mean, doing a strut in the middle of a match is weird, but some of the stuff that he did, or the Vince McMahon walk to the ring, you know, when he was insecure about how his normal walk looks, so he decided, I'm just going to go overboard and cartoonize it. I guess he sort of had a reason to. But yeah, with Oba, stick to, it's an intimidating thing I do on the way to the ring, but it's not something I'm going to play up and wink at the audience and do while the fight is going on, because I'm too serious to do that during a fight.
Yeah, and then you don't want to do, because that's the one fear is if they do cartoonize it. Jacob Fatu, with all his catchphrases, kind of became a cartoon for a while. Gotten a lot better since then. They basically, you know, turned his vernacular into, like, just a joke. But now, you know, last couple of weeks they finally pulled back on that. I mainly wanted to talk about the Punk stuff, and what I was really going to talk about was how a lot of the stuff that Punk has been talking about almost feels like he's either not watching the show, not understanding the storylines that have been told, where things were, that he's, like, viewing things differently, gaslighting, you know. So that was, like, that's what I was going to talk about. But then, because the stuff that he's been saying the last couple of weeks, there hasn't been any pushback direct on what he's been saying. But then the little promo at the beginning kind of was, you know, Reigns pointing out the hypocrisy, whether he's either done the exact same things he's told them, or has been, you know, different, you know, done in different ways. So there was finally a pushback on that. And then to me, it got tied nicely at the end with Punk coming out. And I was worried for a second when he said, stop me when I'm telling lies. At that point, I was reaching for my anti-vertigo medication, because whenever he says that, he spins his truth so much. That's the opposite of what it actually is.
Yeah.
You know, so I was prepared for that, and I was surprised as he was talking. I was like, okay, no, this sounds legit. This sounds okay too. And, like, everything he kept saying, I was waiting for him to do something. When Reigns told him, if you step into this ring, we're not going to need these mics. And then he kept walking towards the rings. I'm like, is Punk going to pull the B card on Roman and walk into the ring just to prove a point? Because that's the kind of stuff that he would do. And I'm like, okay. And then he stopped. I'm like, okay. And then he continued on for a while. And then, you know, when he goes to the apology stuff, you know, he comes in thinking, you know, that's fine, because he makes sense, because he's lowered Reigns' guard. Yeah. And then, you know, he comes and he apologizes. And again, like we've been talking about last couple of weeks, we're waiting for the but after that.
Yeah, you know? Oh, totally. We all were. Okay. So, don't ruin this, Punk. Don't ruin it.
So he went, you know, so that was the thing. So I thoroughly, like, it didn't make me a believer in Punk, but it fixed the character that he's trying to portray, because that first thing where, because I think everything has been off since he made that, I'm going to bury you next to your dad. You know, considering the fact that, you know, he's someone who respects, and he mentioned that in his apology that he respects the old timers, and it.
And by the way, Javier, that is an example too of, like, we talk about a line being used that is being said because someone thought it would be a good thing to say, as opposed to it happened organically. That line from Punk was just set up the angle the next week. It wasn't something organically Punk would say, and that's why it didn't work. And I'm surprised the minds in the room, including Punk, didn't go, wait, there's got to be a better way to get to what we want to do next week than me closing with a line that doesn't feel like something I would say, and it makes me out to be more of a dick than even I'm self-aware enough to know not to say that in that way in this context about that. Come on, like, he should have put up more. He says, I don't want to die on that hill. That might have been a hill to die on. Let's go. I'm not saying that. We got to figure out a different way to get to the storyline.
Yeah, and it was all for the Jay stuff. The other thing that wasn't mentioned was because and again, in the writing, someone came up with the idea of, we're going to make it so 1 week one wrestler gets in the other wrestler's head and attacks the other wrestler and says, haha, I got into your head, and then we're going to repeat it the following week, right? That was it. But the problem is that what we saw in the Roman's part, Punk never got into Roman's head. Roman was not going to attack, and it was Jey Uso who pushed Roman by saying, remember who you are, remember what you are, remember what, So I don't know, because I've missed some of the post shows because I've been late on watching the shows lately, but so I don't know if anyone's talked about this, but it almost feels like there are two concurrent storylines going on, maybe even accidentally, because the stuff with the Jey, because I'm going to talk about what the bloodline. So towards the end of the bloodline stuff, Reigns really looked like he was passing over the tribal chief position over to Jey, right? And he was telling Jey, you call the plays. You're the one who's calling the plays. You call the plays. That was kind of the story that we're telling. And then on the attack, in Reigns' attack on Punk, that was Jey calling the plays. So I've been thinking to myself, the story they've been telling is like, he has been grooming Jey to be the new tribal chief, and that's when Jey went all in and said, do what we do. But when that's what I'm seeing on TV, right? And then what Punk was talking about was how Reigns can't win without his cousins and all this other stuff. And I'm like, that seems like you're talking about old story when there's like new story that we're at. So that was still there. It kind of feels like they kind of dropped that, and this was a much more simplistic promo. He basically said that, the stuff I've been talking about, that's because I've wrote the words here. I was jealous. I was insecure. It was all a false front. That was like Punk's position, and I think that restored a little bit to the character that he's trying to portray. And then Reigns just basically, saying, yeah, okay, but now I'm going to go back and be the top guy because when business was good when I was on top. So I don't think that necessarily requires him doing it with his cousins, and likely if he wants to do it as a babyface, he probably wouldn't do it with his cousins. And so he can stand alone. Yes, it would be nice to have heard more about that, but it just feels like it was a shift that, based on where they had been going.
Do you agree with David Hager in the chat, Javier, who says even tonight's Solo's interaction with Jey focused on how Jey could turn?
I mean, there's a possibility Jey can turn, but I think it's more with the shift. Yes, if you had asked me yesterday, I would have said no at all. Like, straight up, not what they're going to do. But because I was thinking that the likely thing is that Punk wins against Reigns, and then Jey feuds for the title against Punk, as being like the next tribal chief. The old tribal chief couldn't do it. Now this is going to be like Jay's final trial basically. But it feels like that might have been shifted. I think you mentioned, I wouldn't be surprised if they did negotiate for more days and try to get the ratings and more buzz going forward, and have Reigns around a bit more often. So that could be an actual pivot that we're going to do. The weird experience I had though is that I was having internet issues, and so I started a little bit late, so I did not watch that opening promo. So because you mentioned that they didn't talk about Pat McAfee at all. And I'm like, am I high? Because he opened up with saying that, that felt like a smear job, you and your guys. And then he went on to the promo, and I'm like, I thought that was like an oblique reference to Pat McAfee, but then I went back and I saw that there was a promo, and he was referring to that promo where he did come up, but he was referring to that promo. But that was just a weird, you didn't actually watch the entire show, so it gave me a false impression. Mm-hmm. But I think it was, I don't think I would rather have seen a build like this. And the other thing that was really interesting, and I think we're all sign off with this show, there were technically 3-4-ish promos that seemed like a repudiation of everything that has been happening till now, because they were straight up promos about wanting to beat the person for the title or to prove who's better. Femi was a stellar promo, straight up, like, just, we're going to fight, we're going to see, all just great promo. The only thing I'll mark it down is he kind of repeated a few things a little bit to stretch it out, but that's a minor quibble. The Gunther thing, granted, late, but late, but there are reasons for that, all the injuries and stuff. So, but the fact that it's about we two are the two top workers, you could make that, and we're going to fight each other. And even, I don't know if you guys, I think this might have been to the commercial break, but even Penta came out and talked about the ladder match. So, and it was kind of cut off, and it was more trying to, like, amp up the crowd. But he did mention, this is not just going to be any match. This is going to be, a match. He almost said ladder war. I think that might have gotten in trouble. But yeah. So that was this. All those 4 promos felt like this is just about the wrestling. This is about the fighting. This is about this is about who's best, and nothing about who's selling seats and who's drawing. And I mean, Reigns delved a little bit into that, saying that I'm gonna be at the top again when we were our hottest. Okay. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I thought it was this was really good, like, Raw. I kind of wish they didn't have to, like, be fixing so much stuff. Yeah. They already had to fix a bunch of stuff thanks to the injuries. It'd be nice if they didn't have to fix the stuff based on the way they were telling the stories. But I really enjoyed this Raw.
And then just navigate the McAfee nonsense too, which has been a distraction. Yeah. I mean, well put. I mean, I'm all for a shift to wrestlers talking about not just why they want to win and why they want to prove they're better. I think it's simple. It lands. Mm-hmm. It's just, like, there's all these sports drinks with all the gimmicky plastic wraps and energy drinks, and sometimes the best thing is just a glass of water after a hot day outside. Like, just give us that clean glass of H2O. Keep it simple. Refresh wrestling fans with, here's a wrestler I like, here's someone I don't, and there's stakes, and they both want to prove they're better, and they're going to talk about that. I mean, that's what's exciting about the NBA and NHL playoffs coming up starting this weekend, and the play-in games to a degree, this week. It's like, find out who's better. I mean, I'm excited about, seeing if my teams are going to be better than the teams are facing. And it's just, everybody relates to that. Don't complicate it. And tonight did seem like a step in that direction, Javier. Good observation on it happening in multiple matches. And I hope, and I want them to talk about match strategy too. More, my finisher's better than yours. My cardio is better than your strength. I mean, Punk and Roman could have gotten into that. I mean, they each have some weaknesses. Maybe I don't want to be a hypocrite and say draw attention to each other's weaknesses, but there's a way to talk about each other's strengths without tearing the other person down and going, well, anyway, yeah.
I'm not sure if it was did Lyra wrestle this week, or was she last week?
Yeah.
It was this week. Because
against Charlotte.
I've been watching too many shows.
Yeah, no, I get it. Watching Collision, like, on delay right before Dynamite is always dangerous.
Yeah, so because at some point, Graves was talking about how what a good in-ring technician Lyra is, and I kind of wish that they started letting wrestlers, like, really show different styles as opposed to basically having the same match with a couple different moves. Because I think, like, I do like that was my favorite thing about New Japan, was the fact that you had wrestlers with different styles, and you would talk about the styles matchup. The most glaring example is, or obvious example is, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Kota Ibushi. That would be like a big for sure difference in style. So, and you'd be able to talk about like how they one guy turns into a pretzel, the other guy wants to kill himself. So that's pretty much, But yeah, I kind of wish they leaned a little bit more into that, because it struck me surprising. I'm like, well, Lyra in the Indies, if she were in the Indies, she'd probably be like, what's her name? I forgot her name. Her finish used to call it Costa Nostra, AEW. Well, whatever. But someone who's like a technical master. So
sorry, I was looking up. There's a match that reminded me of what you're talking about, like the Styles Clash, and we talked about it on the AEW Dynasty post show last night for VIP members. Jack Perry and Mark Davis, like AEW. You got the Brood and Mark Davis, and then Jack Perry, the slender, more athletic, younger guy, and that's fun. And I was an advocate last night for more of that, more style, and they could have played that up with Jade and Rhea to a degree. I mean, Rhea is sort of a powerhouse other than Jade, in the division. So it's a little harder to do it. Like Io and Jade makes more sense. But I am all for not just talking about different styles, but yeah, like you said, allowing people to work different styles. I think WWE over the decades cleaned up a lot of stuff that they just kind of, were a little snooty about in other realms. And I think they were right a lot of the time, but they have refined it to a point that it feels like going to an Applebee's, a restaurant. You go into an Apple. Oh yeah, I'm at TGI Fridays, or I'm at Applebee's, or I'm at Chili's, or it's like it's just the same. And it's like if you're going to go out and spend $50 or $100 eating out with with your family, you kind of want an experience that doesn't feel just refined at a corporate headquarters. And there is something about the WWE style where I would, I'm, as much as I'm an advocate for a lot of things that make sense about what they do, it almost has, the edges are just, there's not an edge to it. There's a lot of predictability, and sometimes it just shows up where they do so many of the same finishes or same transition spots going into commercials, and the same type of interference to break up pins. And there are different ways to tell stories, and that crew, wrestlers who are raised in NXT, and then the producers who do it, and they have expectations, they're just trying to meet, not create trouble and not get in trouble. But and I don't know if Paul Levesque's going to be the leader of that cause, even if he was part of the NXT, black and gold takeover era, where there were a more variety of styles than we see now. All right, Javier, anything else?
No, I will go. Paul, good talking to you, and I'll see you guys. I wake up in 4 hours, so talk to you later.
Awesome. Thanks, Javier.
Good to see you, Javier.
Jay in Hartford says, I love the Punk apology. Much needed. Eric Moy says, what Wade is describing is precisely why AAA is appealing. But WWE would say, and I say, like, in the middle of a match, if you're a babyface, don't play to the crowd and then have the heel recover enough to kill your momentum. Like, there's just things you do culturally in different styles that the fan base has grown to accept. But when you introduce it into, there's a lot of things WWE does that make absolutely no sense if you weren't exposed to it, and all you did is watch, say, MMA or New Japan. But you've got to be cognizant of that. There's things to include and loosen up with, but there's other things that are just smart to keep out of it because it was sort of a bad idea to begin with. Yeah. All right. Somebody 711 says, was the Kathy Kelly injury legit? I don't know. I haven't asked. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, it was really odd. It didn't seem to serve any story function. So it's a good question. I think it might be just because I don't see what else they would get out of it.
Speaking of things they should change, WWE needs to stop making it seem like the only thing that anyone is aware of in the arena or in the ring is what fans can see on TV. Right. And AEW's guilty of this too. There's still a promo that they did backstage, and I know Anthony Bones was part of it, where they jumped into, like, they startled a wrestler who in the middle of a promo, but they obviously were standing there the whole time, and the wrestler would have seen them in their sight line, so they couldn't have startled them. And we had that tonight, like the camera zooming in on Kathy Kelly, and then boom, there's a wrestler charging at her, and she has to not sell the notion that she obviously saw it coming, could have gotten out of the way, could have warned Vicaire. Oh, but she did none of that because she was told the fans at home the viewers at home don't see it, so it doesn't exist. And by the way, you have the announcers. If I took over Raw tomorrow, WWE TV tomorrow, I would have the announcers saying, "Oh my God!" and all the people at home would go, "What's about to happen?" And it would get the adrenaline flowing, and then they enter the screen, and then the announcers would come across as if they're on your side. And they're not part of a show. They're not being produced. They are sitting there reacting to what's happening organically. And the argument is, well, they're staring at their monitor and they don't notice. Well, okay, that might be true some of the time, but it doesn't resonate to the viewer. The viewer's like, how did the announcers not see that coming? So Kathy Kelly being in that position and it wasn't even peripheral vision. She was like basically looking straight at this oncoming disaster, and she didn't blink, budge, flinch, or move. And it's just so dumb. So. And then backstage they did it, and it's cute with Danhausen when they kind of do it. But there was another segment where somebody entered the picture, and it was like it was Io Sky was startled by Asuka and Kairi, and it's like they didn't come around a corner; they were right there. But she only acted startled once Asuka and Kairi were in the camera range. But as a viewer, you just kind of have like an instinct for it. It's kind of like Uncanny Valley, like you just can kind of tell something doesn't feel right. And it doesn't feel right when a wrestler acts startled at the moment that you see them, when in your mind, you know they had to have seen them before they were startled. So stop doing that, WWE.
Yep. There's such a cost when they take you out, when they make it impossible to suspend your disbelief. I mean, it really takes you out of the moment, and it's sort of an insidious drain on our enjoyment of the product.
Yeah. It's too cute. Oh, announcers aren't going to talk about it unless that's totally a Kevin Dunn thing. Oh, we don't talk about it unless the fans at home can see it. That's our policy, and it makes sense. It's like, or a Vince McMahon thing. It's probably both are in agreement. Come on. All right. Let's get Ian on. Ian, you ready for us? I know you were kind of standing by there, and now you disappeared. All right, Ian. Awesome.
Hey.
Thanks for holding on. What's on your mind about Raw tonight?
Wade, you can admit you wanted them to recreate the Rock Austin Margarita promo from 2001 before Survivor Series. We can admit that as gentlemen here.
I will not.
No, but I mean, yeah, the promo just felt like, because the cold open, Roman says, "I'm going to reveal your secret."
Yeah.
And then he never did. And I'm watching that whole promo going, well, what's the secret that he's talking about? And then it ends and you're like, oh, really? Because like the hype, they're not really selling me on this match. And I mentioned it in the comments earlier. Is the match or the build falling flat because it's just a typical one-on-one match, or does it need a stipulation? Because if these two guys really, really hate each other, a stipulation would add more to that.
Yeah, Paul.
I prefer a classic one-on-one, no stipulation match myself, but at least, I mean, and they haven't wrestled in a long time, so I don't know. I kind of like the classic match, but you think it's more of a grudge match situation, Ian?
It feels like it, because if these two guys hate each other as much as they say they do in promo, and then you're gonna potentially start the match out with a collar elbow tie up, then that doesn't really add to it.
The hate, though, and I think they covered it tonight well, Ian, is the hate is about envy. I mean, I thought it was big of Roman to go, I hope if I disappear, fans are longing for me for 10 years while I'm gone, like they did you, Punk. Punk, I envy you because you didn't have to go through what I did to get to where like their hatred was reframed. And Punk can say, I hate some of the things that you said about me, because frankly, it would have been a moment of self-deprecation that Punk doesn't really do, but he also doesn't apologize without a but, or if you were offended. So, I mean, he covered some new ground here. Both of them did. They could, Punk could have said, some of the things you said, Roman, bothered me. And at first it was because I said they weren't true, but as I slept on it and thought about it, there was some truth to some of this. But you know what? I think you were going through the same thing. And I think we both said some truths to each other. But the bottom line is not only do I envy you, but I respect the hell out of you. Like, I mean, they could have gone further with that. And by the way, like, Roman's line was, I'm going to give Punk one last chance to tell the truth, or I will. So that line is covered in the sense, unless I'm missing something in, because Punk went out there and told the truth. Like, in Roman's listening, and Punk's like speaking truth. So Roman's like, okay, I have no truth. I mean, I will just respond to what you could make the case. Roman was, if this is just not scripted, like it's just real world, Roman is so taken aback by Punk going, I envy you, that he lost, he wasn't thinking about the same thing he was when he filmed that segment earlier. And then it went to post-production and got a musical score. Instead, he was like, whoa, this threw me off my game. But you know what? I gotta match you. I'm envious of you for this reason. And it was both were genuine compliments. I mean, actually, Roman's was more of a compliment than Punk's. Punk's is like, you had a family that got you ahead, so I envy you. I wish I could be more on third base. But yeah, nevertheless.
It's more so like how we go from I'm going to bury you next to your father to now I'm envious of you because of your family.
Yeah. And that's why that line was bad. Because I don't think you can fix it. Yeah.
No, but Darrell mentioned earlier about the Gunther Seth promo. That just kind of it kind of felt like we're grabbing for straws now to make this match make sense. Like, oh, I was champion and the only people I defended against was Damian Priest and Jey Uso while you were busy building your vision.
It has a little bit of a vibe of like if you're walking on a sidewalk and you trip and then you start running, you're like, I meant to run. Like, I was going to jog anyway. Like, Gunther's like, it's not because we didn't have an opponent for each other, and therefore I'm creating this after the fact. I really wanted to wrestle you, and here's why. And you're like, no, I'm not really buying it. But the thing is they were in a tough spot. I mean, I'm not going to be like, this isn't months and months in the planning and in their landing place. So I give them some grace. And the fact is they each, and like, if this were all real, neither of them had a logical opponent. And Gunther's like, you know what? I want to see if I'm better than Seth. And now that I think about it, here's why. I can buy into it. Give me a story to believe in. It's not the top match, but they both deserve to be on WrestleMania. Doesn't mean you should be, but they neither had a match, and I don't think they should be against other. I mean, could you do LA Knight against Gunther 1-on-1 and Seth against? I don't know. Yes. I mean, you could, but I don't know why wedge it in.
Yeah, and then my final point, Io Sky just kind of feels like she's being thrown around. I really, really despise the fact that she's not on Mania. Like, I think clearly they were trying to set up a Io Asuka match at Mania, which is going nowhere, and to just kind of have her be a side character for the Rhea Jay storyline just really sucks, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm curious what they do with them for Backlash, because are they kind of going, well, we're not going to be the company that puts the Andre Battle Royal covers a lot, but we're not going to just wedge everybody onto WrestleMania. We're going to make sure that you earn it and it's natural, and some people are going to miss out. Sometimes it'll be a storyline. Other times it won't be. They can turn the Bayley thing into a storyline. Who else took forever to get on WrestleMania last week? And they mentioned, some wrestler mentioned someone else. Like, I know what it's like to miss WrestleMania. It took me a while to get there.
Matt Cardona.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. So, I mean, like, good. You want that. It shouldn't just be everybody gets to it. John. It was so like eye rolling when John Cena, however many years ago, he's like, I don't think I'm going to be on WrestleMania this year because I didn't win the Rumble. And it's like, you're
2018 when he feuded with the Undertaker in the squash match. Don't talk about.
Yeah, I mean, like, and that's why John Cena. I mean, I just can't get behind his wrestling.
And it reminds me,
everything was so corny.
It reminds me, Wade, of I think it was 2023 where Seth's character was, I need to get on Mania, so I'm going to win the tag titles with Kevin Owens, and then I'm going to now go to WWE headquarters and talk to Vince, and Vince like, you're Seth Rollins, just do an open challenge at Mania. He's like, oh, I didn't think of that. Okay.
Yep. The idea that the story of I want to be on WrestleMania should be for people who are not at Seth Rollins' level or John Cena's level, for it to not feel like, as a viewer, you're just being manipulated with a corny story.
Yeah. Trying to think there's anything else. Oh yeah, the 6-man tag kind of felt weird. Kind of just felt like a last minute addition. Like, MFTs, they're here. And it doesn't really, I don't think really added anything to the story, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know what story they're trying to tell, I know it's the whole like, Tama Tonga's going to break away from MFT. But we didn't need a 6-man tag for that.
It felt, it felt flimsy. The 6-man tag felt flimsy. And then when you saw Tama Tonga walk out and Solo goes, "Why'd you show up now?" And the answer's like, "Yeah, why'd you show up now?" Like, oh, that's why the match happened. And I don't like matches that feel like they exist only for what happens at the finish or afterwards. Sometimes it's going to happen, but it's not my favorite. Yeah.
It was good to see. It was good to see the Usos and LA Knight team together to kind of get a vision of what it might be like when they step up against the Vision. But and it was a nice sort of use of the MFTs. But really, did they need an excuse to lose another distraction finish? They're not on Mania. They could have taken a loss here.
And Wade, you mentioned earlier, like Tama Tonga's right there. And it cut, like you can see in the camera shot to the left, you see Michael Cole looking at his monitor. I'm like, dude, look to your right or look to your left. He's right there.
Yeah.
I hated that. Like, even when the announce table spots would happen, and you can see them back in the back corner shot watching the monitor instead of just looking at the ring.
Yeah.
So
and there's to a degree, I understand as an announcer, most of the time you want to look at the monitor, because you don't. I mean, the argument is you don't want to call something that the fans didn't see and make them feel like the director didn't do his job. And there's a real code of honor among announcers, even in sports. You never tell the director, "Oh, I hope they'll replay that for us." Because the director is like, "We won't have time because we got this one queued up. We're going to commercial and then we're going to be live. And we got this." Like, announcers are never in sports supposed to tell the director what to do. The director will do their job. They'll tell you what you can comment on. And is that sort of, not rules of engagement, but the standard practices that you look at the monitor and you're calling the experience the viewers are seeing. But when there's a ruckus, when the crowd is, there's a murmur in the crowd or a roar, you want Michael Cole to look up and go, "What's happening?" That's the part that's the part where it just feels too strident. Like we'll never look up for the monitor. It's like, no, something's going on. You can look, So,
yeah. But
cool.
yeah, I mean, that was pretty much it.
By the way, they speaking of the 6-man tag, I Show Speed and Logan Paul and LA Knight, 428 million views on social media. And I looked it up. There's only 342 million people in the United States.
Jeez.
Like, so on one hand, you go, well, then therefore that's a lot of people. It was a worldwide thing. And there's like more than 4 billion people with access to the internet through smartphones, Wi-Fi, home internet, whatever, worldwide. Not all of them are candidates to actually watch a WWE thing on social media. So in of the 342 million people in the US, some of them are 2 years old and others are 90 and they're not watching Logan Paul and I Show Speed. So it's an even crazier percentage of Americans, but it's obviously a worldwide number. But it makes me think not, how impressive that number is, but how absurd the tallying methodology is. Like, I'm sorry, if I'm scrolling through Threads or Blue Sky and that shouldn't count as a view if I scroll past it and I don't care. And also, it's algorithm driven. So Logan Paul and I Show Speed are going to be presented to people, and along with all the other celebrities that are being scrolled past. But if one person sees it on 3 or 4 different social media platforms, but most people are just scrolling past it, like, okay, WWE, it's fine, but let's keep in perspective. You want to fill empty seats in a stadium. You reached 428 million people with that angle. You just need, I don't know the math right now, but I know it's less than 1%, because 1% would more than fill the stadium. It's less than 1/100 of 1%, I think, of people. Someone do the math in the chat. What percentage of that 428 million people would they need to buy a WrestleMania ticket? That number is stupid and meaningless in that sense. Now, granted, what matters more is relativity to other social media moments. It's not that we actually think 428 million singular people watched that and paid attention to it. That's ludicrous. But I'm just, I don't know. That was less important. All those views are less important to WWE's success than the damage Pat McAfee did. There's things that get people attention that are counterproductive in ways that a social media viral video can't offset. But they're just, they've been better about it lately, though. WWE's kind of toned down on bragging about gates and ticket sales and even social media and all that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not ranting about it. It was more just, I'm curious about the number, and I did some math. I was kind of like, how does this really work?
Well, they always inflate their numbers, Wade.
WrestleTix prevented them from ever exaggerating by more than like 300 or 400 people now. Their attendance. They broke the tradition. They actually showed some shame in that regard, because normally a crowd of 12,000 would absolutely be 15 or 16,000. Like they would. I mean, every other era. But with WrestleTix, I mean, it's not like WrestleTix is, has 428 million subscribers to it. Support them, by the way. They do a great job. But it gets propagated. People cite that. So they don't want to be caught on a meaningless like every single week. So, but yeah, I don't know how they come up with 428 million. As long as they use the same methodology, at least relatively speaking, you can say, I don't buy that number, but it did twice the number of John Cena doing this. And so at least then you go, okay, this was big, even if the number's kind of silly.
Yeah, didn't they say it was the biggest WWE social media post of all time, which is a big deal. It does make you wonder if how many viewers Logan Paul and IShowSpeed and others are bringing to the product, if any.
I don't think it's a negative to have social media exposure, but it is not all that it's made out to. It should not be. It should be something that happens as opposed to something you spend a lot of time trying to make happen. I mean, because I just don't think the results are enough to be like nobody in WWE should rest their head on the pillow at night more comfortably because of a social media number doing well. If that comes at the expense of the fundamentals on the show being done well for the people who are actually watching your show. And I think it does. I think they just see that as, yay, we succeeded today. And it's like, no, because Michael Cole said Lyra had a great win, and it wasn't a great win. It was tainted, and it meant nothing. Like, to me, that comment by Michael Cole collectively does more damage to the engagement in the product and match outcomes mattering and how fans feel about interference. That does more harm than the good almost anything on social media does. But you don't want to be, if you're the size of WWE, you want people seeing you and talking about you. You want that brand awareness. By the way, Kavanti Smalls in the chat says, in the marketing world, the views metric is being phased out in favor of engagement because of the point you made, Wade. Yeah, exactly. Standard deviation makes sense with his name. Says 1% is 4 million. 1/10 of 1% is actually it's 4.28 million standard deviation. I thought you'd be a little more precise here. 0.1% is 428,000. 0.01 percent is 42.8 thousand. So we need actually 0.005% of that number to fill WrestleMania 1 and 2. So anyway, all right. Cool. Thanks, Ian. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you guys.
It's always nice when you stay around late for us to do math live on here.
Hey, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, thanks. A good fella says, I think IShowSpeed has an authentic connection, and I guess 90% is a legit audience. Yeah, fair enough. All right, so let's just kind of quickly just hit a couple other things from the show that we haven't yet. I want to get your thoughts on them, Paul. So we had Charlotte and Lyra. I mentioned, a massive. Cole called it a massive win for Lyra. I'm harping on this, but like Michael Cole could say, Lyra. I think Lyra would have felt better about beating Charlotte clean, but you know what? She now can say she beat Charlotte on Netflix. And that, at this stage of her career, is a big deal. Like, just, I don't own the finish. Like, yeah.
I don't know what we were supposed to think about that. Did Lyra know that Bayley cheated? Like, their faces. Like, what's, I was found it very confusing. And it was a little disappointing. I do think Charlotte and Lyra are capable of having a great match. But this whole situation, the booking of the Women Tag Team Championship with these even Stevens matches where everyone kind of seem equal and the matches don't seem to matter. So you get something like this. I'm not aware that Charlotte and Lyra have ever wrestled before.
No, they actually, Cole said on commentary, it's their first one-on-one match, at least.
Yeah, and I think they're capable of having a great match, but the stakes seem so low, and it just, I think having seen the other matches, you knew there was going to be some kind of outside distraction because that's the formula they've been following.
I want my play-by-play announcer to be an advocate regardless of the booking, the intent of the booking and the methodology of the booking and the reason for doing with it. I want my play-by-play announcer to be an advocate for we have matches to find out who the better wrestler is. And we did, because of Bayley, we did not find out who the better wrestler is between Charlotte and Lyra tonight. I think it's okay for the play. I think the play-by-play guy gains credibility and builds goodwill with viewers if he doesn't always seem like he's shilling for the product.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what are the writers thinking? I mean, I don't know. Even in having Bailey act that way.
I mean, I guess the idea is just the women have been just going at each other this whole time, and it's just chaos and they're all just it's a chain of events. They interfere, now we interfere, you distract, now I distract, and you could tell that story. Like Cole could have just said, "Hey, I really want to see if Lyra could beat Charlotte," and Lyra got a win here. But this is just a continuation of why we're having this 4-way match, because these women can't stay out of each other's business. There's a way to frame it where you're not burying it, but you're also not framing it as something it's not. A massive win for Lyra. No, sorry. If that's a massive win, then wins mean nothing in WWE. So then we had Vicaire, who it's sort of the Rey Mysterio thing. Rey for years, because you can't trust him to do the in-ring promo. Rey's a good promo now. Like, he's really grown it. But back in the day, he's not going to stand in the ring. So Stephanie Vicaire, Kathy Kelly, got an in-ring promo with Vicaire. This could be good. And then she starts her first sentence, and then of course, she gets attacked. It's like, there's going to be attack, because they're not going to give her Vicaire a full-fledged in-ring promo. So a little predictable there.
Nor should they. Yeah. I did find that one a little puzzling too. Liv, we have never seen in her entire WWE career, we've never seen Liv Morgan so angry as she was here. And for what exactly? It was a little confusing. It didn't seem like it was an earned moment. I mean, they've had a feud, but
I knew your mom was trash, but I didn't know she raised a little bitch. And the fans, ooh. And it's like, I'm with you. I'm like, what? Where did this?
Yeah, and she was just howling with anger. Yeah, screeching is a better word for it. It was a nice pull apart brawl. I like the hair pulling. It was a nice touch. So, but it was a little dissonant. I would
have rather had Vicaire have a few lines that you could tell would trigger Liv, and she can pull off a few lines, and it wouldn't seem not mean spirited, not nasty. But just, I'm confident, I'm good, and that's why I'm getting under Liv's skin, because she knows she's met her match. That she can't get to me. She can't get under my skin like she thinks she can. Whatever. And then have Liv just come out and have her arms crossed and be angry, and Vicaire just take some dig and go, you look like a petulant child out there. And then Liv's like, you called me what? Boom. Now there's something that now it feels like, ooh, Liv is snapping. And I get why, because Vicaire was an adult and called out Liv for her, Liv could have said, what is this thing you do, and kind of imitate her in some way. Like, that's not dignified. What do you were, I don't know. There's just like a way to get at her and her persona that I think, okay, now I get why Liv's just freaking out. Even then it would have been a little much, but at least you would have been like, I get that she was triggered. And this just felt, like you said, Paul, out of nowhere, unearned. Yeah.
And can we talk about the Liv Morgan video? I'm anxious to hear what you think about that.
Yes. Real Legend said Liv looked unhinged.
Yeah.
But Goodfella says Liv's video is so 80s, 90s. Here I go again. Shout out to White Snake.
I see that.
We'll talk about the video. I like how this is 7-Eleven. Says I liked how Steph looked almost like, oh snap, I think I underestimated this psycho. Goodfella says I like Liv's evolution arc. Stephanie's present day character is good. 7-Eleven said Liv was pissed at Steph for giving her a goose egg.
Was that when she knocked in that backstage segment from last week, when she knocked her into the Prodigy? It really looked like they banged heads. Is that referring to?
Yeah, and Sadler goes, she got smoked last week with that attack. Her and Rox got huge knots on their heads. Attack, well-deserved, I think. Well, do you want it to be, is the story Vicaire had it coming?
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. It's odd. It's hard to imagine that she's just seething with that much anger, as she plans her attack for 7 days. It didn't seem, it seemed odd,
and it felt, I think to both of us, it came across as it felt like, okay, Vicaire can't cut a promo. We're not really getting what we want heat-wise out of this. So let's just turn it up to 11. And I like it. It felt like a desperate last flail to get people to care. And that's the part that resonated with me. It just it felt out of scale. But you know, Goodfellas Sizzle's heads clanking sounded so violent it should have been shown. So the video, I thought it was very. I mean, I like music videos. It was a big thing in wrestling in the 80s. Like to do, you know, MTV was huge, and then it's like the Fabulous Ones got introduced. Look it up on YouTube if you haven't seen the Fabulous Ones video. It has not aged well, but it also has aged brilliantly. I mean, in a way. It's something. So yeah, and the AWA, like their thing, the Wrestle Rock Rumble, if you haven't seen that, that's a classic. I'm Greg Gagne and I'm in a rage and I'm gonna beat up the Sheik in a cage or something like that. I can't remember all that. I once had all the lyrics memorized.
Sounds like the category of so bad it's good.
Yes, Larry Zbyszko had great rhythm. Scott Ledoux, his opponent, the ex-boxer, did not. Vern Gagne, he was the one who's beating up the Sheik. Oh yeah, no, God, yeah. I gotta go watch it now again because it's been years since I've seen it, but not that. I mean, like maybe 10 years since I watched it. But Wrestle Rock Rumble, but the AWA would call it a special look, and you look forward to like the elbow grease. I called it in AWA's early days when they just pointed a camera at the ring. Like AWA did the elbow grease. They took songs. They didn't. There wasn't the rights fee thing back in the day. You just could take a song and do your art. But it was a big part of wrestling, and I was like, this is really cool, and it's novel. It feels like, okay, something special's happening here. I want to rewatch it to kind of figure out, you know, how I feel about the presentation of her character in the story, in the way she told the story. But it was a lot of fun. Derek Mitchell says Liv was more Britney Spears or Christina Aguilera than White Snake. Yeah. Let's see. Sadler Version 3 says the song was trash. Choreography was okay, I guess. We're going to WWE Pile Driver. Derek Mitchell says the wrestler album with all the wrestlers singing, the Fabulous Ones, the Rock and Roll Express, but the best was a Fabulous Freebirds Bad Street. Yeah, that was very authentic. All worth looking up online, for sure. Yeah. So Paul, talk about the video. What stood out to you?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that the positive is that she's found her lane as this sort of hot mess, bad girl. I may have mentioned in the past, but I work with kids, and some of the little girls that I've worked with said they really are interested in her character, and so I think that's good. This video just felt like out of nowhere, like it had nothing to do with the story or WrestleMania. Why is it being introduced now? So I did. She said in the song, she said, "Do I make you feel uncomfortable?" And I had to say, yeah, but not in the way that you wanted to. I don't think. It did feel a little embarrassing, and it was sort of on brand, except you know, appearance by Dom would have been appropriate, I think.
Yeah. All right. Derek Mitchell is a super chat. I got to get to this. And I want to sign off pretty quick here. Getting late. Derek says, with Cena being the host of WrestleMania, do you think we get a segment with Danhausen, Kit Wilson, and Truth, and comedy segments face-to-face with Gunther? I think we have to have a Cena Danhausen match. I mean, I'm not like the biggest. I mean, there's stuff John Cena's done that I like and I respect, but there's a lot that I think is corny and counterproductive and whatever. I mean, I have mixed feelings about him, but I didn't like his last run. But Cena interacting with Danhausen kind of has to happen. I mean, if he is the biggest, if he's the GOAT, the biggest star of all time, you got to have him. But I'm worried he'll ruin him. You know, I don't think. Cena's very, very funny in Peacemaker and stuff. But I worry that if he makes it about him instead of making it about, I'm going to just do a Danhausen shtick. Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to preemptively criticize him. I'm worried because I think Danhausen should be protected. And John Cena is a gravitational force that can, when John is thinking about John, it can undercut Cody in ways that John doesn't take into account. And so I don't know what that would be. I haven't thought a lot about it, but I just don't want John to like say something or do something with Danhausen that sort of undercuts the whole thing. So hopefully he catches. If he's a fan and he's like, "What do you want me to do? I trust you." That, you know, I'd be for that.
Yeah. Now, aren't you the one who suggested this first? You put out a poll weeks ago asking if Danhausen and Cena should be co-hosts of WrestleMania.
My poll, it was more of a dig at Cena because I wanted the spirit of the poll when they announced Cena is, do you really want to see John Cena as host of WrestleMania, or would you rather see Danhausen? And then one of the options was, or would you just want both?
Yeah.
So let's see what the poll results here. I am going to PWTorch VIP because I get the ad-free version because I'm a VIP member, and it loads nice and quick here. And I haven't looked at the results of this in a while. And
I think it was a very popular choice, them together, but we'll see.
So John Cena, 13% want him to be host alone. 42% want Danhausen alone. 33% want both together. 13% want neither. John Cena's tied with neither as host. So yeah, go click on the opinions drop down menu and then click on polls, and everyone can go vote on that. I think we can actually do in-show polls now. I have to figure out. They've added some features here, so I might start doing that too. As if I don't have enough to keep track of, keeping the dialogue going and trying to remember things and thinking about stuff and listening to my co-host while also reading the chat. Now I'm going to start creating polls on the spot. Yeah, that'll be a good idea. All right, it keeps me sharp. Okay, I do want to say I think they did a nice job with the ladder match fight. It was, they just threw Javon and Dragon against Rusev and JD. Michael Cole, give him credit. He was like, this ladder match is going to be fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes. that was yeah.
Well, I would say this. I like that, like, yes, fun in the sense of a fun viewing experience if you like a lot of athleticism and danger. But I wish that's sort of my thing where I picked on Excalibur and called him out for going ho 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 when someone takes a big bump. Like he reacts like a guy at a bar sitting around with their friends going, look at that bump that guy took, instead of an announcer respecting the risk and the abuse the wrestlers are taking by going, oh my God. Like, oh geez, that had to, like sort of a, not literally say that had to hurt, but react in a way that you react, not watching a funny blooper video, but you're reacting to seeing something bad happen to somebody. And so his tone was wrong. That's the problem with Cole saying, I started as a compliment, I'm going to criticize him, but like Cole going, this can be a fun ladder match, just playing on, it's entertaining star rating wise. I wish he played more into, it's going to be this. There's going to be dazzling athleticism on display, and there's going to be some chances being taken here. And I worry for these guys. I worry for, like, I think that's quote sells more tickets. I'm worried for these guys because there are some athletes in this ring who are going to be climbing that ladder, trying to win this title.
Yes.
And Rusev is going to be waiting there to knock him down and knock him over. Like, just be more specific and less cliche. Less fallback. Oh, this will be fun. Let your buddy on the couch or your buddy watching Raw texting you go, this match is going to be fun. Cole as the announcer is there to sell the danger, sell the athleticism, sell the stakes. So
and he's there to take it seriously. It's like when the announcers would refer to weapons as toys.
Yep.
That they were just kind of making light of something that it's not in the best. Yeah.
And I think they wanted. I think it's part like. Excalibur, and it's going to be fun. Cole, I think part of it was they wanted to eat their cake and have it too, in the sense that they wanted to have the effect of the weapons, but they didn't want the heat that comes from having them hitting each other with a bunch of weapons. So they go, they're just toys. Network executives and advertisers, they're just toys. Let's soften the edge. But they also wanted viewers to be like, oh my God, a shopping cart full of apparatus that's going to cause people to bleed. But they wanted to take the edge off it for the PG controversy aspect, the PG to PGify it in terms of how they framed it. So I think that was at play too.
But this was the match of the night. I mean, there's some really great wrestling action. The standing Spanish fly. I love Dragon Lee's Dragon Suplex.
Who did the Spanish fly to whom?
He did it to Dragon Lee.
Yes, JD did it to Dragon Lee. I'm asking you to set this up. Michael Cole thought Dragon Lee did it to JD.
Did he really?
Yes, he said that was a great Spanish fly by Dragon Lee. And it's like, no, JD reversed it midair and did it. I know it's a confusing move. It's one of those moves where like, who's supposed to be hurt on this? Because they both look like, and it's like the person who took the move might have been the one doing it. There's a few moves like that, and it was caught out of midair. So anyway, no big deal. But I was like, wait, Cole, that was actually JD got a 2 count right there after doing it. It wasn't Dragon Lee doing it. He did the Snap Dragon, which they're talking about Kenny Omega on the show. But JD's amazing in the ring. He plays, talk about a role player plays the part well. Javon is just amazing. Dragon Lee obviously can do his thing. And I thought Rusev, it was a high point of his return so far. Like I like him being in this match as the mixing up the style a bit and being able to just swat someone out of the air and knock over ladders. I thought they sold that well, and I thought Ray coming out was good, and it made sense.
And we actually got a real winner in this match and a clean finish. Can you imagine that? And it was actually someone who's going to be in the PLE lost. So that was a big thumbs up for this match. And I agree, Rusev being in there with all the high flyers just it'll make for a really, I can say it, a fun contrast of styles.
Yep. Goodfella says JD is so good. Real Legend says Rusev's going to be a good base for the ladder match. As far as the winner goes, Ray or Rusev is my guess. Cole was slow on a few calls tonight, said Goodfella. Savan11 says, hot take, I think the Spanish Fly is the worst move. I hate it. I get it. I mean, you shouldn't go, who got hurt on that? It does have...
It sure is spectacular to look at, though. I mean,
totally. Obviously, my least favorite move is when the guy does a half sit-up with his legs on the top rope in the corner, and he does a half sit-up so he can get stomped. Well, whoever's about to stomp him places the crowd for 8 seconds before actually leaping out of them. That's the worst. But I
think the blockbuster is the other move that I always think whoever does it looks like they hurt themselves. It's like they're suplexing themselves.
Yes. Sadler goes, the swerve stomp is the worst move in wrestling. We can go down a whole road here, but we're at the end. We're at the end of the road. We're at the end of the show. Anything else, Paul, from the show you want to bring up?
No, it was a fun go home show. I think it was wise that they didn't spend too much time on the Intercontinental, the AJ Lee versus Becky Lynch match. I mean, there's not, they've done what they're going to do, and there wasn't too much depths to plumb with that. Usually there's not that much that can happen the week before WrestleMania because everything's so set in stone. But I think we got some of our storylines advanced, and it was a fun show. Yep,
I agree. Only Isaac says 0 chance Rusev wins. Almost no chance Ray wins. Penta should retain. We had Kevin Knight winning the TNT title after it got vacated by Kyle Fletcher last night. So AEW kind of beat WWE to the punch if they're going to give Javon the belt, but I wouldn't hate it if Javon became champ either. They just both just really flashy guys who the crowd is into. Goodfella says I like Kevin Knight winning. I did too. I didn't buy Speedball being upset. He should have been happy for him. I don't know why they played that up at all. All right, cool. Let's plug VIP. This is a good time to go VIP, everybody. Please consider it. PWTorch.com/GoVIP. Just almost 40 years of archives. It's just, honestly, if you have not gone VIP, logged into that VIP website, and just started clicking into the rabbit holes of just fascinating podcasts. We call them audio shows. We started doing podcasts before podcast was a word, before iPods were out, and they named these audio shows podcasts based on the iPod. We were calling them audio shows. We figured out how to do it. We were forerunners, and you can blame us for this. We were forerunners in paywall. Hey, we have a print newsletter. We want to give some bonus content to our paid newsletter subscribers. And so it was a supplement. You had to be a print newsletter subscriber at the beginning to get our online stuff. But we're like, let's do some audio stuff, and people can get a password when they buy a print subscription. And then people are like, hey, I love the online stuff, but I don't need the paper copy anymore. Can I save a little money and go online? And then we offered that. There's an evolution to this, but hundreds of retro radio shows, like my run on KFAN radio in the early 90s with big name guests and a live call-in format. There's really cool stuff. Our WrestleMania collection, new content every day that's VIP exclusive, new shows, being introduced on a regular basis, new formats and stuff. Just, I'm proud of what we built up, and I'm proud of what we keep doing. And if you enjoyed this show and you made it this far, and it's in your budget, and you're missing out on a lot by not being a VIP member. So I appreciate it, and I know the whole team would if you decided to take it to the next level. PWTorch.com/GoVIP gives you full details on all the options, all the benefits, all the tiers. Paul, any closing words from you?
So much fun to talk wrestling with you and the chat. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks, Paul. Great having you on. I will remind people we'll be by Wednesday night after Dynamite. The NXT crew will be by tomorrow night after NXT. And I will be back Friday after SmackDown. Zach Hadorn got rescheduled. He's going to be with me for the flagship tomorrow, if all goes as planned, as we often say. So if you've got questions for the flagship, Wade Keller podcast at gmail.com is where you can send your question or comment. Join us for WrestleMania weekend. All of my live coverage on the website. And then we'll have our free post shows on YouTube afterwards. And then I'll be on the VIP side of things hosting Roundtable post pay-per-view podcasts that we've been doing for over 20 years after every WrestleMania and all the WWE and other branded pay-per-views, TNA, and now, of course, AEW. So go VIP, and you can add that to your podcast feed late Saturday night, Sunday night, or just Sunday morning and Monday morning. And as always, if you like what we do, please indicate that by liking the show and comment, get a conversation going with other people who are watching the show on the YouTube side of things. And we'll be putting up some shorts. So if you want to view those and like and comment, that can help our algorithm reach new people. That'll do it for me. Thanks again. Thanks to Paul. Thanks to our callers. Thanks to the chat. And we'll talk to all of you next time.